The story starts off with the main protagonist panicking since his boss ordered him to go to a fishing event tomorrow. He is Sanada Shiru, and he tells his boss that he has never fished before and that he doesn't have the gear, which his boss tells him to get at his expense. Afterward, Shiru mentions that tomorrow is Sunday and asks if he will be paid for the overtime, but his boss responds negatively. Later, as he is returning home from buying fishing gear, he complains about his black company being utterly despicable, and no matter how hard he works, no one congratulates him or rewards him. He then thinks about finding another job, since it would be nice if at least one person appreciated him. After that, as he is on his way to go to bed, he suddenly finds himself in front of a ruined castle gate. Then, he questions what this place is, if this is a foreign country, and why he is in this kind of place all of a sudden. Next, he wonders if this is that thing where they die in their sleep due to overwork or heat stroke and are reincarnated into another world. However, he remembers waking up in the morning and meeting up with his boss and the participants. Then, when they got on the boat and started fishing, he caught a flounder that spoke to him, and suddenly a black hole in the sea appeared and sucked him in. After that, he gets depressed, thinking that it is another world. But then he gets up, saying it has not been decided that it's not another world yet. Next, he takes a stroll around the area, and after a while, he thinks that it might be just a foreign country. Suddenly, someone throws a spear in front of him, and while he is startled, some soldiers wearing heavy metal armor menacingly approach him. Then, the soldiers point their weapons at Shiru, saying that martial law has been declared for the citizenry, and ask him if he is a collaborator of the royal army. Meanwhile, Shiru remains confused since he doesn't get what they mean by royal and being a collaborator. He then hastily tells them that he is just an employee of a black company, so he requests that they not skewer him. Afterward, the soldier smiles, saying that since he is a valuable man, they won't kill him right away, whereas the other soldiers clap their hands while praising their captain. Next, the captain of the soldiers opens her helmet and tells him that they won't kill him, but that depends on whether or not he satisfies them. Then, she orders one of the soldiers to take him with them, and as he is being pulled away, he wonders why he can understand them when it sounds like a foreign language. Also, he clearly looks at the faces of all the soldiers and notices that these people are all women. Afterward, he thinks about finding an opening, and later, he tries to break free from her grasp, but he couldn't do it no matter how hard he tried. The soldier then tightly grips his hand and asks if he tried to escape, while telling him to take it easy. Meanwhile, Shiru wonders in fear if this is the strength of a woman and why he can't shake her off. Moving on, inside the prison, the captain opens her pants and tells Shiru to lick it. The other soldiers ask their captain if they want to go next, and then they smell his hair, saying that it smells like flowers, which is completely different from theirs. Afterward, the captain orders him to get on with the licking and tells him to do it like a dog. Then, as he starts licking, he gets reminded of the smell of kendo protective gear, so he wonders if that is why it has this unique smell. Suddenly, Shiru vomits on her crotch, so the captain kicks him in the guts and makes him writhe in pain. Then, as he is flailing on the ground, the soldiers tell their captain to not break him before they do it, to which the captain responds that she went easy on him. Next, she grabs Shiru's face and menacingly tells him that she is going to violate him until he cries and begs for forgiveness since he dares to humiliate a woman. Later, they tie him up and lay him down naked, whereas Shiru thinks about how he used to say these things back in middle school, during swimming classes. Afterward, the captain stares at his little Joe, saying that it looks pretty but not very lively. However, she tells him not to worry about it since she will make it hard for him over and over again with magic until she is satisfied. At that, Shiru wonders if she said magic, whereas one of the soldiers begins to conjure her magic. She then grabs his head using the hand she was casting her magic on, while telling him that this is where the fun begins, so he should do his best as well. After that, Shiru's little Joe suddenly rises up, which makes him flustered, whereas the captain tells him that she knows he is looking forward to it as well. Meanwhile, Shiru, on the verge of tears, wonders if this is the power of magic and thinks about how all he can do is stare at them, and this is all because that flounder brought him to this kind of world. Suddenly, someone from the higher ranks enters the cell, asking what they are doing and what the deal is with that man. In panic, the captain reports that he was wandering around the castle courtyard, so they apprehended him and were about to interrogate him. But the high-ranking officer angrily asks what they will do about the patrol. Then, she tells them to get back to their posts, to which they shakily respond, "Yes, ma'am." Afterward, she tells Shiru to get dressed, and then she welcomes Princess Krista inside the prison room. After learning that she is a princess, Shiru stares at her handcuffs and wonders why she is such an important person in a prison like this. Then, looking at her beautiful appearance, he guesses that she is a refined lady with the usual rich lady vibes. After that, Kristja makes a menacing face and questions how dare they confine her, a member of the royal family, to a place like this, whereas Shiru thinks that she is a feisty one. Next, the officer says that it would be rude to put the warrior princess of Regalta under house arrest, so they have to take every precaution, to which Kristja tells her that the Eastern Guardians are still alive, and well, so they shouldn't think this is the end of it. At that, the officer asks if she still barks after the fall of the royal capital, to which Kristja comments that it wouldn't have happened if General Houston had not betrayed them. Subsequently, the officer informs Kristja while she is leaving that her execution is in 3 days and that she should ask that man for help with her necessities. She also says before slamming the door that, in this time of misery, she ought to find comfort in him, while Shiru asks if they are not letting him out. Later, after a brief moment of silence, Kristja lets out a sigh and comments that things are not going well. Then, Shiru nervously approaches her and makes her flinch by saying that she seems to be in a tough situation. He also asks how he can be of help, whereas Kristja becomes speechless. She was shocked to hear him address her directly, but then she remembered that she was a captive princess, so there was no point in bringing up her social status. Afterward, Shiru asks where they are right now, to which Kristja replies that they are in prison. Then, after a brief pause, she explains that they are in Regalta, the royal capital of the kingdom of Regalta, while asking if he was brought here from somewhere else. In response, Shiru tells her the truth, he is not someone from this world. He continues to say that his name is Sanada Shiru. He is 24 years old, he works for a black company, and as ordered by his horrible boss, he was forced to participate in a fishing event. So, he rubbed his sleepy eyes, reluctantly got on the boat, and while fighting seasickness, he caught a fish that transported him to another world. Hearing that, Kristja suddenly hugs him, whereas Shiru becomes confused by her action. She then tells him with pitying expression that he must have had an exceedingly awful experience for passionately narrating such fantasy, as if it were real, whereas Shiru thought that she would believe him since this is a world where magic exists. Next, she says that the Sanada family must be a respectable one, so it is no wonder that this conflict would affect him mentally. Later, she begins to caress him, saying that he should stay like this until he calms down. Meanwhile, Shiru wonders how he thought that she might be pretty hot-tempered, but it turns out she is a kind person. Afterward, Kristja calls him sweetheart, and then she tells him to rest easy since she wouldn't do anything like forcing herself on him. Hearing that, Shiru's heart skips a beat, and then he thinks that if it's her, he doesn't mind being held and won't mind if she messes him up. Later, Kristja asks if something happened, at which Shiru wonders why he is getting excited since it is not that kind of situation. He further thinks that right now, he needs information rather than lust, so he asks the princess if there are any men here while adding that he hasn't seen a single one since arriving in this country. In response, she says that, as they are currently in wartime, she believes they are in hiding. She adds that they would be abducted by imperial soldiers like he was, whereas Shiru asks if there are no male soldiers. In response, she says that men cannot be soldiers while asking if he doesn't even know that. She further says that their country employs women as soldiers, and the same is true for the Empire of Lurgoa, their enemy. Additionally, men cannot use magic, they are physically inferior to women, so a man is a feeble being. At that, Shiru becomes confused while wondering if he will be able to survive in this world as a feeble one. Shiru, who was employed at a black company, was at a fishing event on a day off. He was feeling dull as he was trying to catch a fish, but then he shockingly hooked a fish while concerned about being the first to catch one with the guests there. Suddenly, the fish pleaded to help him, whereas Shiru questioned in shock if the flounder just talked. The flounder then told him that he understood and that he would grant him one of his wishes. At that, Shiru wondered that being able to make all sorts of things sounds fun, whereas the flounder tells him while addressing Shiru that he desires creation magic. Hearing that, Shiru panics while asking how he knows his name and what creation magic is. Afterward, a portal appeared in the middle of the sea out of nowhere, and then he got sucked inside the portal, which led him to be transported to another world. Back to the present, Kristja tells him that men cannot use magic and adds that they are physically inferior to women, at which Shiru becomes confused. He then wonders about how the flounder gave him magic despite being a man, whereas Kristja asks where he came from. In reply, Shiru tells her that he is from a country called Japan, to which Krista hesitantly asks what kind of place it is. Looking at her behavior, Shiru thinks about giving her an intelligent answer, so he explains that it is an island country surrounded by the sea with a population of 126 million, and it's an economic powerhouse with advanced industry, science, and technology. Hearing that, Krista bursts into laughter, saying that his stories are amusing like the ones before about the other world. She also assumes that he was playing the jester to enliven her while giving him her thanks, while Shiru thinks that it's not like that. She then mentions that there are 3 days left until her execution, and that she is glad to spend them together with him. She continues to say that he won't be killed himself, but he will be enslaved and presented to the nobility or sent to the frontier as a pioneer. At that, Shiru asks if she couldn't use her magic to escape, to which she responds that she is among the 5 best users of offensive magic in their country, but she can't use it because of her handcuffs. She then explains that those are special handcuffs that seal off magic, so she cannot even use physical strengthening, and that as of present, she is no different from a feeble man. Hearing that, Shiru asks if they could remove her handcuffs, and Krista says it is difficult to judge if they could elude their pursuit after their escape. She then apologizes to him, saying that his current situation is also partly due to the fact that they allowed the Empire to invade. However, Shiru tells her that the ones to blame are those who captured him. Afterward, he suddenly remembers about the flounder granting him magic, and believing that he might be able to help her if he used magic. He asks Krista about the process of using magic. In response, she tells him that the young ones begin by deeply introspecting and gazing at their own characteristics, so Shiru begins to calmly gaze at himself as well. He then wonders how to use magic and if he should yell something like status open. But to his surprise, before he could say something, a status window appears in front of him with the information of all the unlocked and locked magic that he can use. He couldn't believe that a panel really appeared while wondering if this is the creation magic he was given and that what the flounder said wasn't a lie. He also notices that it has a search function as well, so he wonders if he can make something like a panacea. He then finds out that he can, but he can't make it right now because of insufficient level and MP. Later, he becomes astounded as he discovers that the production time needed to create Panacea is 247 years, and then he thinks about how he will be long dead when it is done. After that, Krista asks what he has been doing for a while now, to which Shiru puts the panel in front of her and tells her to take a look at that. She then permeates through the panel, asking what she should look at, whereas Shiru wonders if she can't see the panel. Next, he tries to explain to her that it looks like he can use magic as well, but Krista gives him a pitying look, and in the next moment, she tightly hugs him. Afterward, she tells him to stop the foolishness, since she knows that a man cannot use magic, while adding that she understands what it feels like to want to turn away from reality, but he has to pull himself together. Meanwhile, Shiru enjoys the softness and squishiness of her melons and wonders if it will end up with her having her way with him because of the way things are going. She then asks if he calmed down, and after looking at his face, she assumes that he has. Next, she tells him to get some sleep while adding that she will lay down too, and after Krista goes to sleep, Shiru stares at her sleeping. He then thinks that Krista is a gentle woman and bids his farewell to her melons with teary eyes. Later, he thinks about looking into his magic while he can, and from what he read in the description, right now the easiest thing he can make is water. The production time is 30 minutes, and it seems like it can be shortened by leveling up, so he gives it a try for now. He then reaches out both of his hands and thinks about becoming aware of his inner self. It is like feeling his pulse and breathing, but it is not quite the same sensation, so he wonders if this feeling is magic. Also, he doesn't know any spells or anything, so he wonders if he could just do it instinctively while thinking about activating creation magic. After that, a timer of 30 minutes appears at the bottom of his panel, so he wonders if it started. Later, the panel becomes smaller, leaving only the timer on the screen, so Shiru understands that after activating the magic, the production happens automatically, therefore, even if he can't concentrate on the magic, there's no problem. He then looks over to the corner of the prison and finds out that his vomit from earlier is still there. Additionally, the smell is getting pretty bad, so he wonders if there is anything that could be used to clean. Later, he notices a bucket at the side of the wall, but judging by the smell coming out of it, he speculates that it is used as a toilet. He then thinks that this person is too unsanitary, and if he doesn't hurry, they might catch some contagious disease. Afterward, as he wonders if he could make vaccines or antibiotics, he finds out that he can make penicillin, and it takes 47 hours. However, it didn't look like it was possible right now, and he wonders what the conditions are for unlocking it. Later, the timer for water production comes down to 16 minutes, and he thinks that once the water is done, he could make a rag or a mop. He then looks at the production process for a rag and finds out that it takes 6 hours to create. He also learns that without materials, it takes a while, but he would rather use something else instead. Afterward, he takes a peek at Krista to make sure that she is still sleeping. He then slowly begins to pull down his pants while wondering what he is even doing in a place like this. He also thinks that there must be a commotion on the fishing boat right about now since he disappeared all of a sudden, and he wonders if it will be treated as a maritime accident. Also, he is concerned that his parents must be worried while wondering if he will be able to go back to his world. He then breaks down in tears, wondering if he is really about to wipe his own vomit with his pants in that kind of situation. Suddenly, Krista opens her eyes, and looking at Shiru's shivering state, she questions if he is crying. At that, Shiru feels embarrassed and tells her that it is not an act based on the feelings of guilt, but Krista suddenly hugs him from behind. She then tells him that he is sweet since he is trying to comfort her as death looms over her, whereas Shiru finds that interpretation as his chance. Meanwhile, Krista continues that if he dislikes it enough to cry, there is no need to exert himself, while Shiru tells her that he is not pushing himself but he feels sorry for her. Hearing that, Krista gets turned on, whereas Shiru thinks that he tried to play the cute guy as best he could, but he wonders if that wasn't gross. Afterward, Krista praises him, saying that he is really adorable, and then she places her hand on Shiru's chest, telling him not to fret since she has experience dealing with men. Then, as she starts playing with him, Shiru thinks that he never thought the day would come when he would let a woman take care of him like that. Next, Krista tells him to turn her way and asks if he could undress her since she is struggling. In the middle of their intimacy, Shiru receives a message saying that his water production is complete, therefore, he drops it on his vomit. Then, after having some fun in the bed, Krista tells him that he did great, and to call her Chris. Afterward, as she falls asleep, she comments that she has no regrets in this world. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks about how she is treating him like a mistress, but being skin to skin, they could feel the emotions. Also, in 3 days she will be executed, which is the last thing he wants. If they could just get rid of those handcuffs, he is sure that they could get a lot done. Moving on, during the second night, Krista tells Shiru to move away from the bunk. She then breaks one of the supports of the bunk and holds it in her hand. Shiru becomes surprised by her power and asks what's going on, to which she replies that it was sleeping with him that made her not want to give up until the end. Therefore, she plans to use the broken piece of the bunk to sever her wrist. She continues to say that she can use magic if the handcuffs are removed, and she cannot use healing magic, but she can cauterize the wound with fire magic and stop the bleeding. Additionally, she will destroy as much bone as possible with her first blow, and then she needs him to tear off the remaining flesh and skin. At that, Shiru becomes terrified, so he tells her not to be hasty and that he will definitely get rid of those handcuffs. He then glances at the timer and informs her that he can get rid of those handcuffs using his magic, but Krista wants him to stop his nonsense since she knows that a man can't use magic. Afterward, Shiru begs her to just wait 1 more hour, 54 minutes and 34 seconds, to which Krista comments that he is awfully specific. At that, Krista accepts his suggestion and mentions that they should make their escape in the middle of the night. She also says that once 2 hours pass, he will have to assist her with her plan, to which he replies that he understands. A few moments later, Krista looks outside the window of the prison and states that it will be 2 hours soon, but Shiru tells her to wait another 27 minutes. Krista then asks how he knows the time without hearing the bell, to which Shiru responds that he can tell the time accurately with his wristwatch. Suddenly, Krista says that she won't wait anymore and tells him to steel himself while she places the piece of broken bunk in the ground. Afterward, she raises her hands in the air and orders him to keep it in place so it doesn't move. At that, Shiru requests her to wait just a little more in a panic state while wondering how he would get her to wait another 27 minutes. Next, Krista states that this is the only way and that she is counting on him, but Shiru surprises her, saying that he wants to have fun with her. Hearing that, she becomes speechless and asks what he is saying since this is hardly the time. In response, Shiru says that he is scared about tearing off her wrist, so he wants her to give him courage. At that, Krista tells him that she understands and that she will give him strength while blushing. Later, they start going pound town on each other, and as soon as they are done, Shiru receives a notification saying that his production is complete. After that, Krista says that it is time to get ready, but Shiru tells her to look at his hands. He then designates the palm of his hands as the place of appearance and summons a tool. Witnessing that, Kristja becomes surprised and asks him if a file just suddenly appeared out of thin air. Meanwhile, Shiru narrates that he had been working on a file since yesterday with his creation magic, and he used an iron bar from the window to make the production faster. He then tells her that he made it cut off the handcuffs and asks what she thinks about his creation magic. She becomes dumbfounded by what she just saw, and after wondering about it for a bit, she asks if he is a woman, to which he replies that he is not. Later, as Shiru uses the file to cut off her handcuffs, he tells her to try pulling the chain. Then, after Shiru successfully cuts off the handcuffs, she checks her magic to confirm that the magic resistance wore off and thanks him. Next, she destroys the handcuffs with magic, and then she uses an ability outside the door to make the guard outside fall asleep. She explains that this is called sleeping mist and that they will not awaken until morning. Later, she tells him to step aside from the bunk, and then she destroys it by just stepping on it. She then comments that her physical strengthening is working as usual and tells Shiru that they are leaving. Next, she gathers her magic power into one of her hands and jumps upward to reach the window. Then, she launches a series of slashes towards the iron bars and cuts them into pieces. Witnessing that, Shiru comments that she is amazing, to which Kristja replies with a smile that not many have this much magic power. Afterward, she jumps to the other side of the window, and then she pulls Shiru out with ease. After arriving outside, they spread their arms and breathe in the fresh air of the outside simultaneously. After that, as they were sneaking around the castle, Shiru wonders if it was a good idea to follow her. On the other hand, Kristja shows him the chapel and mentions that there is a secret passage that leads out of the castle, and that she will take care of the guards while he waits here. Next, she dashes towards the guards to engage them in combat, whereas Shiru wonders if he should have stayed on the prison. He then remembers his encounter with the guard and thinks that he might have been worse off if he stayed. Later, as Kristja opens the door to the chapel, he runs toward her, thinking that he will go with her too. After arriving inside the chapel, Kristja activates a secret doorway, and then both begin to go downstairs. Afterward, she mentions that the passage leads to the pedestal of the bronze statue in Monson Park, and from there they will head for the Falap fishing harbor. She continues that there they will procure a boat and sail east while asking if he understood, to which he replies yes. Shiru then becomes speechless as he gets PTSD from his experience on the sea. Moving on, Shiru gets a wet dream while sleeping on the boat and murmurs that it is too hot on the island. He then wakes up from the intense heat from the sun and finds himself in the middle of the ocean with Kristja. He remembers that they were swept away, and no matter where he looks, there is only the sea. After escaping the castle through the underground passage, they were spotted several times by Imperial soldiers at the fishing harbor, but Kristja wiped them out like a demon each time. They hijacked a fisherman's boat and set sail triumphantly at 3 a.m. in the middle of the night. After getting on the boat, Shiru complimented her, saying that she is also skilled at handling a boat, at which she gave him a smile. Thus the current carried them away. And here they are, and when she said that they were going to steal a boat, he assumed she could handle it, but they can do nothing about it now. Afterward, he receives a notification saying that his water production is complete, so he places the water inside the jar that he made while sleeping. He then explains that water can be made in 5 minutes from the seawater so they can prevent dehydration, and it only consumes 2 MP, but the experience gained is also little. Thanks to the file and the pot, the tool category is the one with the most MP, and next, he will make bread, which consumes 6 MP, and using salt and water reduces the timer to 50 minutes. He also learned that the MP that doesn't recover while production is ongoing will recover at a rate of 1 per minute when not using magic. Furthermore, he will be leveling up soon, so he will keep making things that will be useful in his daily life. Later, he informs Kristja that the water is ready, to which she thanks him. She then says that it looks like they will be able to survive thanks to him, and he must be her guardian angel. Hearing that, Shiru blushingly says there is no way he can be a guardian angel, whereas Kristja compliments him that he is adorable. Suddenly, Kristja loudly yells that she can see an island, but Shiru inquires where it is. Afterward, she grabs the paddles and uses them to sail at an incredible speed. Then, as they are sailing, Kristja says that there is definitely something over there, while Shiru yells that it really is an island. Moving on, they arrive at the shore of the island and lay down on the beach while saying that it is a true tropical paradise. Kristja then suddenly jumps on top of one of the coconut trees and lands on the ground with some coconuts on her arms. She says that although he has his creation magic, securing food is fundamental to survive, while Shiru thinks about how ridiculous is her physical ability. Later, Kristja tells him that they should scout the surroundings to ask the inhabitants about where they are, and if this is a deserted island, they can expect some heinous monsters to be around. At that, Shiru asks if she just said monsters while wondering if this is a world with those as well. Suddenly, he looks over to the rustling noise to notice a monster and asks if this is a slime. Kristja asks if it is his first time seeing one, to which Shiru replies that he saw them in games. Hearing that, Kristja becomes confused, so he tells her that he saw them in paintings. Afterward, Shiru asks if they are dangerous, to which she explains that if they get close, it can be startled and cover him with digestive fluids, which cause tingling and skin irritation if not washed. Shiru feels relieved hearing that, whereas Kristja continues that slimes eat and decompose human excrement and garbage, so that is why they must not kill them indiscriminately. Later, Shiru states that he thought they could go around the entire island if they walked along the coast, but the forest extends to the shore. Next, Kristja tells Shiru to get on her back, and after Shiru gets on her back, she jumps over the vegetation and keeps moving forward. Meanwhile, Shiru asks if they couldn't just walk on the ground, to which she replies that it is faster this way. Afterward, Shiru bumps his head into one of the branches, and his hand loses its grip, whereas Kristja asks what happened since he is letting go. Then, Shiru hastily grabs her body, resulting in him touching her melons, to which Kristja tells him that it is too early in the day to relax. At that, Shiru apologizes to her while blushing, whereas Kristja smiles at him. Moving on, they arrive at a dense thicket after getting out of the forest, so Kristja conjures magic on both of her arms and tells Shiru to stand back. She then starts cutting down the vegetation using her magic, whereas Shiru wonders if she is using wind cutter, which is another first for him. Later, they encounter a cliff, but Kristja climbs over the cliff while carrying him without breaking a sweat. Then, after spending half a day going around the island, he draws a map on the sand after putting it all together. Next, Kristja appears, asking if he would like to eat the fruits they collected during the investigation, to which Shiru tells her to have the bread he created as well. Seeing that, he becomes shocked and asks if he made this too with his creation magic. In response, he acts cute, saying that it is his first time, so he can't promise regarding the taste, but he worked hard on it. Witnessing that, Kristja blushes and compliments him, saying that he is cute. After finishing their meal, they arrive at a mountainside, and Kristja comments that it might be handy to have a cave around here, and it is a reasonable distance from the river, so she thinks it is convenient for drawing water. Shiru then says that there isn't anything like a convenient cave, but Kristja activates her magic and says that they just have to make one. Next, she begins to slice the mountain to create a cave, whereas Shiru becomes speechless. He then informs her that he is going back to the beach to get water and food, to which Kristja replies, "Understood." A while later, as he is returning from gathering some fruit, he wonders if the magic is amazing or is Kristja amazing. Afterward, Kristja says that he is fast and that she also just got done with this. On the other hand, Shiru becomes stunned seeing how detailed her work is and how she made all the furniture inside the cave using stone. She then asks what he thinks, and that she thinks this much space will be enough, to which Shiru says that it is more than enough and asks if she made a table, chair, and even a bed out of stone. Hearing that, she proudly says that she made it while she was at it, whereas Shiru notices that she is embarrassed. Moving on, Shiru asks what she plans to do moving forward, to which she replies that they will do what they discussed on the boat. She thinks they were swept away towards the southeast, so if they go towards the east, land should come into view, and they will join the border garrison at Bawanda Castle. They have fertile fields within the sturdy walls and a stockpile that will last 10 years, so if they go there, they will definitely be well. Hearing that, Shiru believes that someone as strong as Kristja is saying this, so he is sure it will be fine, but he is worried about something. Moving on, Kristja says that while she gathers the palm fronds, she will take the chance to look around the river for animals they could eat, since he needs more than fruit to stay energetic. In response, Shiru tells her that he will look for plants for materials to make bags where they can keep things. Later, since he finds some vines, once the bread he is currently making is done, he will get 6 experience, and after that, if he makes the harvesting bag, it will be just a bit more until he levels up. Once he does, he will be able to make even more things, but he then suddenly becomes quiet since he doesn't know what will happen eventually. After Shiru returns to the cave, Kristja shows him the bed, saying that they can sleep soundly tonight, whereas Shiru thinks about how she planned to sleep together from the beginning. He then tells her that this is a proper bed unlike the one at the prison, to which Kristja replies that she is quite proud of it. As Shiru is about to say something important, Kristja interrupts him by saying she failed to hunt anything outstanding, so she apologizes for making him expect meat for dinner. She also says that once they escape this island, fighting is inevitable, so they need to remain vigorous, but Shiru surprises her by telling her to leave him here. Hearing that, Krista becomes speechless for a second, and then she asks what he is saying. In reply, Shiru says that he is useless in a fight, so he will only get in her way. He thinks that Krista is certainly strong, but even with that strength, she was captured once, so if she has to look after him, then at some point she will get captured again. He continues to tell her that if his magic levels up, he might be able to make a high-performance boat or even other things that could be useful in battle. But that will be eventually, and she is in a hurry. He will be fine since he can make the essential things with magic, so she doesn't have to look back and set off towards the east and focus on recovering. Hearing that, Krista becomes emotional and attempts to hug him while yelling his name. After hugging him, Krista tells him to forgive her, whereas Shiru hugs her back while thinking about her. Later, in the middle of the night, after they were done clapping, Shiru receives a notification saying that his creation magic increased to level 2. He learns that his MP increased, so now he can make the things he didn't have enough for before, but the rest remains unchanged, whereas Krista asks how he feels. In response, he tells her that it's like the planned 6 loaves of bread for breakfast are about to become 9, to which she comments that it is quite the way to start off the day. She also tells him not to be in such a rush, although she supposes it doesn't level him up as rapidly as in bed. Then, after some wholesome moments, Krista tells him that tomorrow will be a long day, so they should go to bed. The next day, Shiru gathers some fruits in his newly created basket and comments that this much should be enough. They don't even know how far away this place is from the land, so he guesses she should have enough water and food to last her a week, and assuming she needs at least 2 liters of water per day, they would need 4 water jugs. Also, one thing he learned while gathering fruits is that a knife is essential, but he still doesn't have enough MP to make a knife. Therefore, he made a chipped stone knife, and to improve the usability, he begins to sharpen the knife to change its class to polished stone tool. Suddenly, Krista brings a massive boar, saying that she brought it down with a magic arrow, but she doesn't know how to take it apart and that she drained most of the blood already. At that, Shiru says that when it comes to fish he can manage, whereas Krista asks if they should give it a try in their own way. Afterwards, Krista creates a blade-shaped mana surrounding her hand, and then she cuts the boar in half. Later, Shiru hastily reminds her about the skin and the organs, so she quickly chops it off. After she was done, Shiru says that with this much, no amount of salt will be enough, whereas Krista says she was wondering if it could be preserved by smoking it. Then, as they are smoking the meat inside a wooden container, Shiru explains that he had Krista cut a fallen tree, and they easily made a box for it, and he also had her use her fire magic. He said he would be fine, but he thinks he is going to have a hard time alone. Afterward, in the night, they indulge in fun activities, and then in the next day, Krista takes preparation to set off. Before taking off, she asks if he is okay since last night he seemed to have run out of steam, to which Shiru blushingly replies that he is okay. She also says that it was her first time having a man on top of her, but it was not bad at all since he was adorable and working so hard. Hearing that, Shiru tells her to stop it and that it is not the time to be saying that. Then, he wishes her the best of luck, whereas Krista tells him to take care and that she would have gladly taken him as a concubine. Hearing that, Shiru waves his hand, thinking that he is not sure about joining the harem. After she sets out to the ocean, Shiru says that he will have to make a flint to start fire on his own and also pot, mirror, soap, and fishing rod so that he can level up quickly. Moving on, Shiru dreams about Krista drifting ashore the island, so he asks if it was a shipwreck, to which she replies no. She says that she wanted to see him, so she quickly defeated the empire, restored the kingdom, and that very same day she swam back here. She further says that she entrusted the kingdom to someone else, so she wants to build their own on this island, just them. Afterward, Shiru dreams about grabbing her melons, but when he wakes up, it turns out that he was just grabbing a slime. The slime then spurts its fluid into his face, so he makes a commotion about washing it off quickly since his skin will itch. Next, after washing his face, he realizes that it was a dream, that Krista isn't here anymore, and that he is alone on this island. Afterward, he hears rustling noise from the jungle, so he grabs the sword that Krista took from a pursuing soldier at the fishing harbor while sitting near the bonfire set up by her. He then says that he needs to stop being overly conscious of the fact that he relied on Krista for a lot of things, and besides, he is making a flint right now for when this bonfire is extinguished. He also says that he should have built a door for the entrance first, since if wild animals like that boar attacked him, he would stand no chance. The flint takes about 8 hours, and he doesn't have the courage to enter the forest at night to gather the wood for the door. The sword is too heavy for him to swing, though just having it puts him at ease, and he believes that every night is going to be like this. After some thinking, he comes up with an idea, and the next day, he wakes up to the sound of a notification of creating an item. He then gets up, saying that it is noon already, and in the end, he was so scared that he didn't sleep until early morning. He adds that he will get the preparations done so that starting tonight, he can sleep in peace. Later, he grabs a spear while commenting that he did a splendid job, if he does say so himself. The sword was too heavy for him, so he turned it into a spear by using the tip of the sword as material. An amateur like him can't handle something like a sword anyway, so in his case, a light spear with reach is better. He will carry this as a walking stick when he goes into the forest, and then he looks back at the entrance to the cave, saying, "One more pending issue." Next, he approaches a tree, and wondering if a growing tree works as material, he activates his magic. Then, the middle section of the tree suddenly disappears, but the top half of the tree comes crashing down on him. 1 hour later, he thinks that from now on, he should take a bit more distance before turning trees into material. Afterward, he receives a message saying that his production is complete, so he sets the place of appearance to the entrance of his cave. Then, a plank appears out of thin air, which he uses as a pseudo-door, and while roughly opening the door to get out, he comments that he will eventually make a better one. Moving on, as he is walking down the shore, he munches on a banana and searches for anything that could be useful. However, amidst his thought he suddenly realizes that he hasn't had rice in a while. Then, after searching his production magic, he found out that he can even make rice, which costs more than bread. Next, he discovers what he believes to be kombu by the shore, but he isn't too sure whether it is actually kombu or not. Nonetheless, he wants to try boiling it, and he thinks that he can make some dashi out of it with magic. Afterward, he yells in joy that he is going to eat onigiri and kombu clear soup tonight. Also, he misses miso soup as well, since he feels like he hasn't had any in a very long time. 5 days later, he laughs sinisterly while saying that he needs to wait a bit more and that he is almost done with that thing he has been waiting for. In the 3 days following Christia's departure, he made all kinds of things, and finally creation magic reached level 3. Not just more MP bonuses, but at last that category was unlocked, and then he immediately began making it for another 48 hours. He then reaches out his hand, saying that he can't stand the solitude any longer, and after that, he summons a mass production type stone golem. After the creation of the golem slowly faces his way, whereas Shiru thinks that he imagined it would look tougher. It looks cuter than the Moe statues, and its eyes occasionally glow green, and on top of that, it can lift things weighing up to 500 kg. As for its name, Oiwa sounds cursed, so he begins to think of other names that are related to stone, and since he seems masculine, Shiru gives him the name Iwao. He then shows him the cavern where he lives and says that he will show him around the island as well. Later, as they are taking a tour, Shiru thinks that Iwao doesn't say anything, but he is glad to have someone he can talk to. Next, he takes him to the shore and tells him to remember that this is the Crescent Coast, while thinking that this is the place where Christia and him landed. It has been around a week since he came to this world, and he is living a completely different life than in Japan. He continues to tell Iwao that he has done his research and knows quite a bit about this island, so if there is something he doesn't understand or is curious about, he will explain right away. Afterward, Iwao suddenly walks towards the forest and points his finger towards the groove, to which Shiru asks if the forest caught his attention. Rather than the forest, Shiru felt like it was looking into the distance, so he asked if it was the depth of the forest or the other side. It is looking at the southern side of the island, but Shiru couldn't take him since the forest is too deep to walk through. After that, Iwao points toward the sea, so Shiru guesses that it is curious about everything since it is a newborn. However, he notices a ship in the distance and wonders if they are coming towards this island by any chance. He hopes they are nice people, but if they are like the female soldiers from the other day, they are done for, so he orders Iwao to go back and protect the cavern. He adds that he will stay here and observe the ship while telling Iwao to hurry up. After observing the ship for a bit, he notices that they are boarding a boat, so he wonders if they plan to land. He then sees that they are all women, and since they are not dressed as soldiers, he questions if they are fishers. He rules out the possibility that they could be pirates, but he hopes they aren't. After that, the pirates land on the island, and the lady who appeared to be their captain ordered them to scout the island with her. Later, the vice captain tells her that it looks like a pretty nice island and that they were lucky to find a place not even marked on the charts. Addressing the vice captain as Janice, the captain tells her that it looks perfect for hiding from the Navy, and that it is good enough to make it into their new hideout. Meanwhile, Shiru glares at her enormous melons and thinks about how she surpasses Kristja. He then questions what they mean by hiding from the Navy and comes to the conclusion that they are pirates after all. He also thinks that he doesn't want criminals to become his neighbors, whereas the captain orders everyone to stop slacking off and explore with her. After that, Shiru arrives at his cavern and prepares his food and necessities. It is only a matter of time before they find this place, so he decides to hide in the mountain until they leave together with Iwao. However, as he is about to leave, one of the pirate girls spots him leaving the cavern and loudly yells that there is a man over here. Hearing the announcement of a man, all the pirates hurriedly run over to the location and menacingly stand before Shiru. At that, Shiru threatens them not to come any closer and that if they try to come in, his stone golem will go berserk. Meanwhile, the pirates become active seeing him while questioning if he is living in the cavern and if the rock puppet really moves. Then, after Iwao moves a little, the pirates comment that it doesn't matter if they all beat it together, but the captain suddenly punches the pirate who was talking. Witnessing that, everyone becomes speechless, whereas the captain tells them that she will not allow them to assault a weak man. She then apologizes to Shiru for startling him and adds that he can relax, since they will leave once they get their hands on some water and meat. On the other hand, Shiru thinks about how he is not so naive as to just take her word for it, because he is not a former employee of a black company just for show. He then tells her that she can get water from the stream, and as for meat, she can find deer, goats, and wild boars, to which she replies that it helps a lot. She also says that he must be scared, but she will make sure they don't lay a finger on him. Afterward, she orders everyone to retreat, and they leave while maliciously staring at Shiru. Later that night, the pirate named Butin asks Futch if she is okay, to which she replies that the scratch is not a big deal. But the captain's attitude pisses her off since she is so pretentious. However, she is known as Selassie the Bursting Flame, so they can't oppose her. There are rumors that she is a former Navy officer of some country, so Butin wonders why she would turn into a pirate. She also says that man wasn't half bad and that she is dying to sit and rub her body all over it. In reply, Futch says that if someone like her did that to him, his neck would just break, but Butin believes that he would enjoy it and that he is the type to get a bone from it. They further discuss that if the captain hadn't been so pretentious, they could have done as they liked and that she is getting arrogant just because her face is a little prettier. Also, they heard from someone that she may not look it, but she likes letting men have their way with her in bed. Butin then mentions that there was a waiter named Louis at the tavern, so she had him spill the beans when she got her hands on him before leaving port. Later, as they gossip about the captain being a pervert, and that on the inside, she is like a man, but suddenly, Janice menacing appears behind them and asks who is a pervert and just like a man. At that, Butin and Futch become startled and say that they were joking. Janice tells them that they are a bunch of idiots since they are speaking a bit too loud for the captain to hear them. However, it's not like she doesn't get how they feel because they finally managed to get away from the Navy, and she also thinks that there shouldn't be a problem if they got their hands on a man for a bit. In response, Butin and Futch say that she is right and that if they all got together and enjoyed with one, it would definitely boost their morale. Janice continues to tell them that she thinks the captain is a bit lacking in flexibility, so she actually has a secret plan. Meanwhile, at the cavern, Shiru commands Iwao to throw a stone, but the stone falls from Iwao's hand. He was wondering if it could throw stones as a long-range attack, but since its movements are way too slow, it won't work. He then says that he might be designed as a tank, so a shield might work instead of a weapon, but a shield costs 56 MP and 18 hours to create. As things stand, if he suddenly needs something else, he will be in trouble, so he puts this on hold. He then creates 4 torches, and after lighting one of the torches on fire, he comments that these are more potent than he thought. Next, he orders Iwao to stop any intruders that show up and adds that he thought they were just primitive lighting, but they are super useful, so he adds 2 more. With that just now, tool production reaches level 3, and the creation magic itself is almost 4. Usually, he would be happy about this, but in this situation, he just can't get in a cheerful mood, and he can't wait for the pirates to be gone. Later, in the middle of the night, he wakes up to the sound of a loud sound. He then wonders if that sound was from an explosion, and it sounded like it came from the shore. He also wonders if the pirates did something and if it was a bomb, a cannon, or magic. Either way, if they attack him with something like that, he will be in trouble, so he takes out all his tools and puts on a pot on his head as a substitute for armor. He then comments that he is not joking around and that he just wants to improve his survival chances at least a bit. After coming outside his cavern, he asks Yuo about what is going on outside. Then he notices something in the bushes, so he wonders if that is a person. Afterward, he asks who it is while ordering Yuo to point his torch towards the forest. Moving on, as the captain of the pirates is asleep, someone wakes her up by yelling that they have big trouble. She then asks Janice about what is going on, to which she apologizes for the trouble, and adds that something terrible happened. Afterward, she arrives on the scene and witnesses that some of her pirates appeared to have spots on their bodies, so she asks if this is a disease. In response, Janice tells her that Anne, Hillary, Futch, and Butin are the ones affected, to which the captain says that 4 people is a lot. She continues to say that this is bad and speculates that the cause could be on this island. At that, Janice asks what they should do and if they should leave them, but the captain says they can't just abandon them since they won't be able to snatch a doctor or a healer. In that case, Janice proposes that they should turn one of the cables into a sick room and seal it off. The captain then tells her subordinates to hang in there and to get on her back so she can carry them to the boat. Afterward, Butin approaches the captain in a wobbly manner, and as soon as she gets on the captain's back, she stabs the captain in the back with a sharp dagger. At that, the captain kicks her off, and then she angrily asks what the big idea is. Then, someone fires a barrage of magic attacks and arrows towards her, but she manages to dodge it. However, a stray magic attack cuts her leg, so she falls to the ground. She then comments that she sees how it is, since the only person who can use a wind cutter that can get past her magic defense is Janice. In response, Janice addresses the captain as Cecily and tells her that they don't think she is fit to be their captain. She adds that she will die here, but Cecily menacingly activates her magic on the palm of her hands and asks if they think the likes of them can defeat her, Cecily the Bursting Flame. At that, Janice orders everyone to get away from her flame burst magic, whereas Cecily hits the ground with her magic to create a smokescreen. Afterward, as everyone couldn't see anything, Janice ordered them not to attack since they would hit each other. Then, after the smokescreen clears up, they search for Cecily, but it appears that she got away. At that, Janice tells them that there is no need to chase after her since she will kick the bucket soon anyway, and she also doesn't want to force it and get into a real fight with her. Next, she says that they should return to the ship and tell the others there that Cecily and the company caught a disease. Suddenly, Louise and Thatcher approach Janice, asking how she could do something like that to the captain. In reply, Janice tells them that she is the captain of that ship now, and her first order for them all is to get rid of those 2. On the other side, Cecily slowly approaches Shiru's cavern while being heavily wounded. Shiru then comes out of the cavern, asking who there is and what her business is there. In response, Cecily says that she knows it is presumptuous coming from a pirate, but she wonders if he could help her. After saying that, Cecily falls on the floor, whereas Shiru becomes confused. He then notices that blood is flowing out of her leg, so he asks if she is hurt. He also says that it doesn't look like an act, but if this is a trick, his purity is in danger. Afterward, he orders Iwa to give him a hand to help him carry her to the cavern. Later, after he carries her to his bed, he notices that she got a wound on her thigh and her back too. Cecily then tells him in a weak voice that it's pathetic, but her subordinates betrayed her because she let her guard down a bit. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks about how he needs to treat her quickly, but he doesn't know what to do because he still hasn't unlocked medicine production. He tells her that he doesn't have any medicine here, to which she says that right now, she is putting all her magic power into physical strengthening to help wounds heal faster. She further says that she has more magic power than the average person, so she believes that if she is lucky, she will make it, whereas Shiru thinks about how she still hasn't given up despite her horrible wounds. He then promises that he will help her, to which Cecily apologizes for the trouble while introducing herself as Cecily and asking what the name of her benefactor is. In reply, Shiru says that his name is Shiru Sanada and tells her that first they should stop the bleeding in her thigh. In order to check the wound, he will have to cut her clothes with a knife, so he asks if she is okay with that. Then, after cutting her pants, she becomes shocked to see that the wound is over 10 centimeters long and says that for how big it is, she feels like it's not bleeding a lot. In response, Cecily says that it's thanks to the physical strengthening because all her blood would have flowed out of her already. Afterward, Shiru grabs the piece of cloth he cut from her pants and says that he will tie this around her thighs to stop the bleeding. Next, after covering her wounds with bandages, he says that this was amateurish, so he is not sure about it being good. but he used the bandages he made, so he will check back later. Then, looking at her face, he wonders if she fell asleep or if she lost consciousness. 3 days later, he made another stone golem and labeled them as numbers 1 and 2. With this, his defense capabilities have doubled, and his creation magic also reached level 4, though he only got more MP. Next, he looks at Cecily as she is sleeping on the bed and wonders if it isn't about time she woke up. She has been sleeping the whole time, but color is coming back to her face and her breathing is normalized too. He also thinks that looking at her like this, Cecily is a beauty and above all, her melons are huge. Christia was big too, but this goes beyond that, so he will be checking when he changes the bandages. Afterward, he thinks that he can't be looking at an injured person like that, so he will shave and take a step back. Then, as he is shaving, he thinks that this triple blade razor he made is something else. Suddenly, he notices that Cecily woke up from her slumber and that she is staring at him. He then asks if she is awake, whereas Cecily begins to blush and apologizes, saying that she didn't mean to peek. At that, Shiru asks what she is embarrassed about and adds that if she gets excited all of a sudden, her wound will reopen. Later, Cecily drops down to the other side of the bed, whereas Shiru asks if she is okay. She then tries to close her eyes in embarrassment, whereas Shiru becomes confused. After that, she tells him that she is sorry she peeked, but he shouldn't come near her in such an unbecoming state. She adds that she didn't think he was taking care of unwanted hair, but Shiru becomes confused about what she means by it. He then wonders if she means him shaving and that he guesses it's like a guy seeing a girl shaving her armpits. With that said, he is only halfway done with his beard, so he tells her to hold on a minute for him to finish this up. At that, she tells him not to do that in front of a woman, to which he replies that she can watch if she likes. He then thinks that she is an innocent pirate and that her reactions are funny. Afterward, he brings her a mango juice and tells her to drink it slowly since she hasn't eaten in a while. Then, after taking a sip of the juice, she says that it is really good and that she can feel it permeating her body. Next, as she is drinking the juice, she suddenly feels pain, so Shiru asks if it hurts, to which she replies that it does a bit when she raises her arms. At that, Shiru tells her that he will feed it for her, and as she was hesitant to let him do it, Shiru says that injured people should listen and be obedient. Then, after getting help from Shiru to drink the juice, she thanks him and asks if his name was Shiru. In response, he tells her that his name is Shiru Sanada, to which Cecily replies that it is a lovely name. Meanwhile, Shiru becomes confused since it is the first time he heard that opinion, and in fact, it is a pretty masculine name, so he had a complex about not living up to it. Later, he asks if she is hitting on him, to which she blushingly responds that she is not. She continues to say that she just really felt that way and there is no ulterior motive, whereas Shiru thinks teasing her pays off since her reactions are great. After that, she falls asleep while trying to prove her point, to which Shiru thinks that she is tired from all the drinking and talking. Later, he says that there are many things he has to make now, and he wonders what an injured person needs. He doesn't think she can eat solid food yet, so he decides to make some porridge, and her body is in no shape to move, in which case she will need a urinal as well. Also, he prepared a lot of essentials while he was nursing, so here is how he is looking now. He is soon to be level 5, which is a good number to stop at, so he also gets the feeling there will be a new development like unlocking medicine production or other categories appearing. And if he makes another Iwao, golem production will level up to 2, and when that happens, he may be able to make a different type of golem. But making an Iwao takes 48 hours, and in the end, food takes priority, so he decides to postpone that. Furthermore, he believes there may be pirates outside, so he is leaving the fruit gathering to number 2, though he wants to go fishing outside. Then, after 6th day after Cecily arrived at the cavern, Shiru says that he will change those bandages, but Cecily mentions that she thinks her wound healed already since the pain is gone and it's more like a terrible itch. Next, she tells him that he was a lot of help and that she needs to thank him somehow. In response, Shiru says that she doesn't have to thank him since she already promised not to do anything to him even though she is a pirate. At that, Cecily clarifies that it's because it didn't look like he had anything valuable, and she made it a principle to not harm the poor. She only goes after the rich, and no stealing of water and food is an unconditional rule. She adds that if it is money, she has some hidden that she will share with him, and if there is some place he wants to go, she can escort him wherever he wants. Hearing that, Shiru thinks he was planning to stay here for a while and train his creation magic, so he wasn't thinking of leaving this island. Then, he mischievously grins and teases her by asking if she would take him as her husband. At that, Cecily falls on the other side of the bed and blushingly tells him that it is an entry in the family, not a place. Subsequently, she asks if he is going to take this seriously, and adds that no one would want to do that with a pirate. But Shiru tells her that her reactions are hilarious. He couldn't help it. Cecily then furiously says that if he keeps saying things like that, she will push him down, to which Shiru responds that she can't do it. After thinking about it for a bit, he comes up with an idea, and tells her that since he is planning to build a canoe, he wants her to teach him how to steer a boat. In reply, she tells him that she will build it and teach him how to handle it, so if he lends her a knife, she will have it done in a day. She adds that using physical strengthening and elemental magic, it would be relatively easy to do, but Shiru tells her not to push herself. A few moments later, as they are going to the shore, Shiru, in a frightened state, questions if they are really not here anymore. In reply, Cecily states that they probably forgot about her, and if they wanted to kill her, it would be weird for them to wait until she recovered. Hearing that, Shiru tells her that she is right, whereas Cecily says that they should go check out the beach just in case. After arriving at the beach, Shiru starts fishing while being guarded by his 2 Iwals. He thinks that this is fine and that it is not a mistake to be afraid of an enemy he hasn't seen for 6 days in the cavern. He also thinks that it is crazy that he is fishing while guarded by 2 stone golems like a VIP. Suddenly, Cecily appears with a huge log on her shoulder, saying that she found a nice log. Seeing that, Shiru calls her an idiot and asks what if her wound opens carrying such a big thing. In reply, she says that it is okay while adding that she will work on it here. She then activates her fire magic, whereas Shiru wonders why she is burning the log. Next, she brings out her knife and starts cutting the tree, at which Shiru understands that she burned it to make it easier to scrape. Furthermore, he thinks that it looks like she may really build the canoe within a day, and that he will prepare dinner starting with onions and garlic next. He wishes he could make the food just like that, but it looks like that's not possible at his level. Later, he catches a nemesis and explains that it is a white fish that looks a lot like cod and even tastes like it. He then tells Cecily that he is going back to the cavern for a bit, and after arriving at the cavern, he prepares the fish by filleting it, sprinkling it with salt, and lightly coating it with flour. Next, he pours olive oil in the pot, adds garlic, and when the aroma rises, he adds the fillet to brown the surface. Afterward, he adds chopped onions and sauté together, and when the onions turn translucent, he adds water and starts simmering. Then, just before eating, he adds chopped tomatoes, season it with salt, and completes the neem soup. Later, he addresses Cecily by honey name and tells her that dinner is ready. At that, Cecily blushingly asks who he is calling honey and that they are not married. Moving on, as they start eating their lunch, Shiru asks if it is good, to which she replies it is. He also tells her that there's seconds too if she wants, to which she blushingly responds okay. Afterward, he teases her by saying that for dessert, she can have him, whereas Cecily suddenly gets a nosebleed and collapses on the floor. At that, Shiru thinks about how he never saw anyone fall over with a nosebleed from excitement before, and that the people here sure are different. Moving on, his creation magic reaches level 5, and it makes his food and tool production take 5% less time. Since it is a nice number to stop it, he thought he'd unlock medicine production. But still there is something to be happy about. Bread production is specifically leveled up to 2, so if he keeps leveling up, he will be able to make it in a matter of seconds. The next day, Cecily tells him that now that he knows the basics, they should get on with it and go out to sit. Shiru thinks that he can't believe she actually built the canoe in a day, whereas Cecily comments that the water is calm and that they should continue along the shore and go around the island once. Later, as they are going around the island, Shiru thinks about how this is the first time he has gotten a good view of the island from the sea. Cecily then asks if this island has a name, to which Shiru replies that he doesn't know since he is a castaway. At that, Cecily says that he should name it Shiru Island or Sonata Island, but Shiru replies that it is embarrassing. Then, he suddenly remembers about Christia, so he decides that he will call it Monte Chris Island. Hearing that, Cecily asks who that is, to which Shiru replies that she is not here anymore since she needed something to take care of. After a short pause, Cecily says that she understands, whereas Shiru thinks that he hopes she is doing well. A few moments later, Shiru says that this should be the south side of the island, and there are a lot of cliffs, to which Cecily warns him not to get too close until he gets the hang of it. Then, looking at the cracks in the cliff, Shiru comments that it looks like a secret dock, whereas Cecily says that with the water a bit calmer, she thinks they could even hide a boat in there. Suddenly, she makes a serious face, So Shiru asks what is wrong, to which she says that she thinks she saw what looked like stairs in the back of that cave. Hearing that, Shiru wonders if they are artificial since he has been on this island for over 10 days, but he hasn't seen any signs of other humans. Cecily then suggests they check it out while telling him to watch out since it's going to be pretty shaky. After entering the cavern, Shiru notices that the deeper they go, the calmer the water gets, whereas Cecily activates her magic and tells him to look over there. Afterward, he sees a staircase in the middle of the cavern and thinks about how it is not a natural formation, and that it is clearly man-made. Meanwhile, Cecily says that they should go in, and then she lifts Shiru into the stairway using only one hand. Next, as they are walking upstairs, Cecily says that there are no signs of monsters or humans, but they should keep an eye out, and if something happens, he should stay behind her. Meanwhile, Shiru stares at her jiggly back from behind and replies that he will. After that, they reach the end of the stairs and find themselves at the top of the cliff. Shiru then looks down from the cliff and becomes scared from the height, so he latches onto Cecily and tells her to let him hold on to her for a bit. At that, Cecily blushingly tells him that he is a scaredy cat and hugs him saying it is okay. Cecily says she wonders where this is on the island, to which Shiru replies that it is probably just the south of the cavern. He has never gone into the dense forest south of the cavern, so he guesses that if they go south, they would end up here, and since it looks like a good fishing spot, he thinks about having the golems build a path. He then asks Cecily if they can go look around the forest a bit as there might be fruit trees, to which she nods her head. Afterward, as they are going through the forest, Shiru feels afraid, so Cecily tells him to be on his guard and follow closely behind her. A few moments later, they see something beyond the forest, and after going closer, they become startled as they see a menacing-looking structure in front of them. Shiru then says that he can't believe a building like this was here and that it looks like a South American ruin. But Cecily tells him that it isn't a ruin. Next, she starts laughing like a maniac, and then she says that this is a dungeon, and she never thought she would find an untouched one in a place like this. At that, Shiru asks if a dungeon is a place where there are lots of monsters and traps, to which Cecily comments that it is a place with plenty of treasure as well. Next, Shiru asks how she knows it is a dungeon, so Cecily replies that it is because of the magic it emanates. He also asks in a concerning tone if she plans to go in, to which she responds that not even she would think about taking on a dungeon by herself, and that she needs to gather allies first. Also, there is something she has to do before that, so Shiru wonders what she has to do. He asks if it is for revenge, to which she replies that they will get what is coming to them, and besides, that's her ship. Shiru knows that revenge won't make Cecily happy, but it's alright if that is what it takes for her to move on. He then tells her that first of all, she needs to build a ship in order to escape this island, to which she says that it is true. Shiru continues to say that he will make the sailcloth and will get her back to the sea. He knows that she could build a simple boat out of the trees on the island, but she can't make the sailcloth, and sailcloth is a must for long-distance travel. He doesn't mind if she finds out about his creation magic, and since she is a kind and earnest pirate lady, he can't imagine she would do anything to him. Afterward, Cecily asks Shiru that once she gets her revenge, can she come back to this island? In reply, Shiru says yes and that they will toast with mango juice again. Moments later, she looks at the dungeon, saying she wants to gather some companions and explore this thing as soon as possible. Hearing that, Shiru asks if it isn't dangerous, but Cecily replies that the potential reward in a dungeon is enormous, especially if it's an untouched one. He also asks if it would be worth it if she died for it, so Cecily replies that a woman would risk her life for the treasure. At that, Shiru thinks about how it has nothing to do with gender and that it is disrespectful to the men of the world. Later, Cecily says that next time she is going to get some people she can trust, so she won't bring anyone who would try to do weird things to him. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks about how he appreciates the concern, but if it is his type of girl, he wouldn't mind if she pursued him forcefully. He might be a coward, but he doesn't discriminate, and he likes beautiful women, but he is also okay with a charming one or the type he could have a good conversation with. Afterward, Cecily tells him that if it is not a bother, she would be happy if he lets her stay at that cavern again when the time comes, whereas Shiru thinks that he doesn't have any integrity. Then, after a short pause, he tells her that he will set up an inn where her party can stay, to which she happily responds that it sounds good. She adds that she is looking forward to her return even more and that she will be paying him handsomely. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks that running an inn here for people coming to the island doesn't sound bad and that he will be careful not to make a dodgy inn with no integrity. Moving on, after building the boat, Cecily comments that it ended up taking her 4 days to build. Shiru tells her that 4 days is fast enough and asks, since this is a boat, will she be okay with large waves and stuff? In reply, Cecily says that this is an inland sea, so she won't have to deal with waves that high, and there's no strong winds this time of year. Later, she looks at the sails of the boat and states that she never thought there was a man who could actually use magic. 3 days earlier, Cecily asks that he said he would make the sailcloth, but how exactly will he? She adds that it has to be a pretty durable, thick cloth and that he won't be able to make fabrics on this island in the first place, to which Shiru replies that he just took care of it. At that, Cecily asks what he means, so Shiru explains that with magic, he will make it appear here. Then, as she says that there is no way a man could use magic, a large cloth appears on top of her. Afterward, she gets buried beneath the cloth and makes weird noises, whereas Shiru apologizes to her. Back to the present, Cecily comments that it surprised her, to which Shiru replies that he was surprised too, while thinking how her chest stood out the most even through the thick sailcloth. She also says that he even created some containers for water and that she can't thank him enough. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks how back then, he could only make water jugs for Krista, and since it breaks easily, he hopes she is okay. Next, he looks at his status panel and finds out he only needs 13 more experience points until he reaches level 6. Afterward, Cecily notifies Shiru that she is done loading everything. In response, Shiru tells her that their lunch is almost ready, so she should sit down and wait. Then, after he finishes making wild boar meat and turnip soup, they sit down together and start eating it. Cecily tells him that she won't be able to eat his cooking for a while, to which Shiru replies that he will expand his repertoire before she comes back. At that, she comments that she looks forward to it, whereas Shiru responds by saying yes. A few moments later, Cecily gets on the boat and thanks Shiru along with Iwao numbers 1 and 2 for all the help. Meanwhile, he thinks how in the end, she never laid a hand on him at all, and though he was a little lonely, he likes that seriousness of hers. Moreover, he wonders if he teased her a bit too much and that for today at least he will see her off seriously. Then, he suddenly jumps towards her and gives her a kiss on her cheeks, whereas Cecily blushingly asks what he is doing. In reply, Shiru tells her that it is a spell for safe voyage, and that this is how it is done in Izu. At that, she states that it is just one surprise after another with him, and then she tells him that she will definitely come back. Later, she sets off to the sea, where Shiru shouts that he will create a place where both her body and mind can heal. He further adds that he will receive her party as well, to which Cecily shouts back at him, saying she will get one together and come back right away. Then, after Cecily's boat blends in the distance, Shiru notices a flock of seagull-like birds and wishes them to deliver his prayer on his behalf. Afterward, he arrives at his cavern and explains that his creation magic leveled up to 6 after making cooking oil, and he can have up to 309 MP now, but other than that, no changes. Later, he thinks about making a new golem, and he is sure it will get a bit livelier with another Iwao around, so he starts stone golem production. He can only make one thing at a time, so he thinks about working outside tomorrow. The next day, a heavy downpour occurs, so Shiru comments that though he has rainwater, he doesn't want to work in the rain, and also that he was planning to build a small farm. He then looks at the Iwaos saying, they look kind of lonely working silently in the rain, but he knows that golems don't have feelings, so he guesses he is the one who is lonely. Afterward, he says that the stream was muddy due to rising water, so for now, he will have to drink rainwater, but he needs to prepare a water tank for times like this when he can't use his magic. Then, hearing the sound of water dropping in the pots, he comments that it sounds like music, and speaking of which, there is basically no entertainment here, so he thinks about making something after the Iwao is done, like playing cards. Suddenly, he comes up with the idea that he can make that with the golem production skill. After searching his creation magic, he finds out that using clay, he can make erotic figures of Krista and Cecily. Though unfortunately they can't move, it looks like at a very high level he could make autonomous golems in any shape he wants. It is a pretty nice pastime to forget his loneliness, and if it goes well, he might be able to make them cast-off figures. Then, 2 days later, he finishes his third Iwao production. Next, he writes number 3 on his newest golem, saying that his name is Iwao number 3, and afterward, he shows his current status. He joyfully says that his golem production has leveled up, and now he can make a new golem, which is a different type of stone golem from Iwao. He then hurriedly says that there is no time to make erotic figures, so he is starting this game right now. Furthermore, he tells his Iwaos to rejoice since a new family member is coming. Later, after working for time with the help of his golems, he states that 2 days really fly by when they are working in the field. He then reaches out his hand and creates the stone golem type small. Looking at his newest golem, he states that rather than humanoid, it looks like a monkey while asking it if it can show him how much it moves. The golem then jumps high up in the air and performs a backflip, to which Shiru claps his hands. Next, he says that it is a monkey after all, and since it is a stone monkey, its name is Goku. It has some agile fingers too, so he will have it help him out with the delicate work Iwao can't do. And actually, he has been thinking about renovating the cavern. Moving on, Shiru starts working on making his inn along with his golems, and half a month later, he finishes building his inn and says that now they are ready for whenever Cecily comes back. He got a window, a door, 2 bunks, and he even put up a sign, so he hopes it looks like a proper inn now. He believes that not just Cecily, Christia might come back too, but then he guesses that she might not come back since the fate of the garrison rests in her shoulders. Afterward, one of the golems suddenly stops moving, and when Shiru goes to check on it, he wonders why it is not moving and if it died. Later, he goes to the troubleshooting page and finds out that it is just out of magic power. At that, he guesses that even golems need fuel, so he puts his hand on the flashing spot and recharges it with his magic power. The golem then becomes fired up, but Shiru notices that it sucked 50 MP out of him. He needs to replenish their MP periodically and systematically from now on, so he searches that MP potion is for humans, and for a golem and magical devices there is magic stone. However, he can't make magic stones, so he wonders how he gets them. If this were a game, he would get them by defeating monsters, but he can't since the slimes purify the water and deal with all the trash. Most importantly, they are growing with his waste, and they are a part of his daily life, so he even feels some strange closeness with them. It looks like they have grown used to him lately, so they don't mind him approaching them to the point where they swim beside him as he bathes in the river. That's why he can't go slime hunting, so the magic stones can wait for now. Afterward, as he is fishing, he thinks that with the farm done now he has agriculture on top of the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And next is livestock farming. Then, as he is thinking about some livestock, like goats and chickens, he suddenly notices something resembling birds in the distance. After a closer look, he sees that they are something like pteranodons and that they are coming this way. He then hides in the bushes along with Goku and observes them for a moment. He was amazed that this world has these too, but then he notices that there's people riding them. He then orders Goku to have the Iwaos stand by fully armed while thinking that he says fully armed, but each Iwao is equipped with 1 club. Next, he wonders if they are looking for a place to land and that he is sure it will be the Crescent Coast being the most open. Additionally, he gets the feeling they already found the cavern, and he wonders if they are like the soldiers at the castle or the pirates again, though there are decent people like Christia and Cecily. Moving on, they choose the coast to land, and after landing, the captain of the team tells someone named Louise to be on her guard since they don't know what is lurking around. She also tells her that the wyvern is most dangerous at the moment of dismount, to which Louise replies yes. Later, another girl comments that there are no signs of enemies around and asks if they should head in the direction of that field they saw from above. Meanwhile, Shiru spies on them from behind a bush, thinking that the wild, cool beauty captain seems to be in her late 30s and that he wants such a boss to spoil him. Moreover, he believes that the inexperienced Louise should be in her late teens and that she seems pleasant and kind. He also thinks the one with the slightly nasal voice is in her late 20s, and though she is beautiful, she is kind of coquettish. After that, he deems them not to be bad people, so he appears in front of them and wishes them a good day. However, one of the wyverns suddenly screams at him, so he faints from the sudden shock. Moving on, the captain apologizes for surprising him with such a sudden visit, and adds that they are the survey team from the Land Management and Surveying Institute of the Empire of Largoa. She then introduces herself as their captain, Alyssa Milano, whereas Shiru thinks that they are from the Empire of Largoa, the one hostile to Christia. Later, Shiru introduces himself to them and adds that he lives by himself on this island. Hearing that he lives by himself on this island, everyone becomes surprised. Alyssa then asks what the deal is with that, whereas Shiru thinks that he can't tell them that he escaped from prison back in the capital with Christia before coming here, so he tells them that he ended up drifting here as a child. Next, Alyssa says that his clothes look pretty new considering that, to which he replies that pirates and merchant ships show up here occasionally, so he barters with those people. Hearing that, she comments that having a man on board is bad luck, so no one must have rescued him. Shiru then shifts the conversation, saying that there are plenty of fruit and animals one could eat here, but Alyssa asks if a tax collector ever came here. In response, he says that he is not really sure who this island belongs to, so Alyssa explains that this island is a territory of the Empire of Largoa, and as such, he is one of its subjects. At that, Shiru asks if he is required to pay taxes from now on, but the other girl tells him that they would lose money if they came all the way here to collect. Afterward, Alyssa addresses the girl as Leanne and tells her that it is for the authorities to decide. Later, she asks him if there is a place where they can rest, since they have been on a reconnaissance flight since early morning and haven't eaten anything yet, to which Shiro asks if they would like to stop by his place. Moving on, after arriving at his inn, they feel threatened seeing 3 golems menacingly guarding the place. Shiru then orders the Iwais that they are his guests, so they move out of the way. Alyssa asks what's this, to which Shiru tells them that they are his golems. At that, Leanne asks if he isn't a man, so Shiru responds that he doesn't really know why, but they listen to what he says. Afterward, they become surprised to see his billboard and ask him if he even gets any customers, but Shiru tells them that they are the first ones. Then, as they are going inside the inn, Leanne suddenly squeezes his back, asking if she is his first girl, but Alyssa scolds her. Later, she apologizes to him, saying that they are always on a mission, so she hasn't seen a man in a while. She then tells Leanne that she will understand when she becomes a mother too, because it is not a pleasant feeling when her own son is ogled at. Shiru asks who looks after her son, so she replies that her husband looks after their child back home. Moving on, as they are waiting inside the inn, Shiru brings them a cup of citrus grass herbal tea. After that, Alyssa asks if this is an inn, could they order a meal? In reply, Shiru says that if they don't mind him using what he has on hand, but Alyssa says that all they have is water and dried meat, so if it is better than that, they are okay with anything. Hearing that, Shiru thinks being told something like that makes him want to serve them something delicious. Then, he arrives at his kitchen and comments that the day the kitchen he built was put to good use came right away. Next, he grabs his knife and ingredients, saying that he will make his inn's first customers feel welcome. Then, as he is preparing the food, he thinks about reheating the bread he made yesterday, and fish he caught this morning as a side dish. Meanwhile, Leanne stares at his back and comments that the sight of a man cooking really gets her going. She then tells Louise that he might let her do him if she asks, and that this is her chance to get rid of her purity. Suddenly, Alyssa appears behind them, and then she smacks Leanne on the head, so she apologizes to her. Meanwhile, Shiru learns that Louise is a virgin and wonders if she would become a wizard once she turns 30, though she has been able to use magic since birth. Then, after finishing his cooking, he brings them white fish sauteed in olive oil and garlic, soup with mashed potatoes added to dashi made from onions and white fish. At that, they comment that it looks amazing, and after taking a bite, they become startled. Then, as they become silent, Shiru asks if there is something wrong, but they reply, making delighted faces, that this is delicious. Leanne also says that delicious doesn't do it justice, and that she never had bread like this before. Seeing that, Shiru remembers Krishna saying that his bread is really good. It is on par with the food served in the royal palace. Then, as Louise is munching down on the bread, Alyssa asks how he made this bread and if he also has a wheat field. In reply, Shiru tells her that sailors sold the wheat to him and adds that he has more bread ready if they would like. Hearing that, everyone raises their hand and replies that they will take it. After finishing their meal, Leanne suddenly approaches him and asks if he would marry her. In response, he says that he will do it next time, but Leanne tells him that she is serious. Shiru continues that he knows she is hitting on every guy she sees, to which Leanne replies that he is special since he is a good cook and desirable to boot. At that, Shiru tells her that he is flattered but he likes sincere people like Louise. Hearing that, Louise starts blushing, whereas Shiru thinks that she is so cute. Afterward, Alyssa addresses him by proprietor and asks about a building resembling a ruin to the south of the inn, which they spotted while airborne. Shiru thinks about how he didn't think they could see that too, whereas the survey team tells him that they will go investigate the ruins and they will be back tonight. He then sees them off while apologizing to Cecily in his head for not being able to keep it hidden from them. Next, he pulls out a coin from his pocket and explains that this is a 100 layman copper coin. This time, the meal was 500 layman per person, and since he hadn't thought about setting a price, it was a big help that they told him what the market price is. Also, it turns out the 3 of them will be staying the night here too, and as they are his first customers, he wants to get serious about entertaining them. He then cancels the Iwao Great Shield currently in production while saying that he just wasted 168 MP. But right now, there is something he has to make that takes the highest priority. Later, he reaches out his hand and orders the Iwaos and Goku to assemble for an urgent mission. He tells Iwao numbers 1 and 2 to clear the area along the river and lay down some flat stones. Goku and number 3 are to build a kamado, which is a stone kamado for heating up the water. Then, he tells everyone to do their best and show him a never-before-seen scenery. A while later, the survey team returns to the inn with a joyful expression on their face and alerts Shiru that they are back. Shiru then asks if they found anything interesting, to which they reply they found out that those ruins are the entrance of a dungeon. Louise asks Alyssa if they will be rewarded for the discovery, to which she replies that dungeons have a reputation for being full of treasure. Shiru tells them that it's good to hear and to come with him since they must be tired, and then he takes them to his recently created open-air bathhouse. At that, Louise becomes confused and asks if it was here before, to which Shiru tells her that it has been here all along. He then thinks about how he wanted to prepare a bath for his exhausted customers, but to tell the truth, he thinks the opportunity to see multiple bodies in the flesh is a rare thing in one's life, and now that chance has arrived. Meanwhile, Leanne tells Louise that there is actually a bath here, and while grabbing a towel, she says they should use it. Moving on, after witnessing their bodies in the bath, Shiru returns to his inn, saying that if the other two hadn't been there, he would have been tempted. Still, if this was his original world, he would have been reported, but it seems like it is fine in this world no matter how openly they look. With that said, just looking is torture for him, and he feels like he would just sleep with anyone who asked right now. He then rushes to his private room to beat his meat, and 15 minutes later, he feels post-nut clarity and decides to hurry up and make dinner. Later that night, as Shiru is sleeping on his bed, he thinks that dinner is over, everyone went to bed, and he is just lying down, but to be completely honest, he is waiting for someone to sneak into his room. He also thinks that he shouldn't have gone sightseeing around the bath, as he can't calm down at all. The next morning, he goes over to the survey team's room, and after looking at them, he thinks that they have a cute sleeping face. He then thinks about how, in the end, no one showed up, and Leanne even peeped at him in the bath. Later, he goes outside to wash his face, but he suddenly witnesses Alyssa washing her face by the river. Then, after they both wish good morning to each other, Alyssa comments that it looks like they will have favorable conditions for flying today. At that, Shiru asks if they are returning to the imperial capital already, to which she replies in affirmative while adding that reporting the discovery of a dungeon is given top priority. She then makes a happy face, saying that she might be able to go home before the day is over, to which Shiru tells her that she must be looking forward to seeing her son after such a long time. In response, she says that she needs to make her existence known once in a while as she is afraid he will forget his mother's face. Afterward, she grabs his attention and surprises him by saying that in the future, they will be sending a survey team of 100. Hearing that, Shiru, in a panicked state, says that he only has capacity for 4, but Alyssa tells him not to worry about that, since the soldiers will be making camp. She adds that there are some officers who might wish for meals, to which Shiru tells her that he can only prepare things like what he served them yesterday. In reply, Alyssa says that it is good enough, and that the taste would satisfy even the most discerning of senior officers. Incidentally, she is one of them, a knight, whereas Shiru falls in love thinking that she is a female knight of another world. He also thinks that Leanne must be an elite as well and wonders if she is brilliant despite being a flirt. Afterward, he tells her that he will make preparations to welcome her, but Alyssa tells him something that is concerning him. Later, Shiru prepares mango, sauteed mushrooms, bread, wild boar sausage, and scrambled eggs as their breakfast, to which they comment that it looks great. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks about how they have a long flight ahead of them today, so he needs them to be well fed, but he wonders if he went overboard with this. Later, they order for more sausages, more bread, and another cup of coffee, respectively, to which Shiru thinks that it looks like he was worrying over nothing. After that, as they are preparing for departure, Shiru asks Alyssa about how much they pay for the lodging. Alyssa replies that for a night with 2 meals, she would say around 4,000 to 6,000 laymen. Leanne says even for 6,000, she would become a regular herself, to which Shiru asks if 5,000 laymen per person sounds good. In reply, they say that 5,000 is a bargain for that kind of service, but Louise suddenly asks Alyssa if she could lend her 1,000 laymen, as she doesn't have enough though she has magic stones. Shiru then looks at her hand and asks if they are magic stones, to which Alyssa explains that they are magic crystals found inside a monster's body, and in the imperial capital, they double as money. Their grade is classified into tri, di, and mono, and they are equivalent to 1,000, 500, and 100 laymen, respectively. Shiru then tells Louise that in that case, he doesn't mind accepting payment in magic stones. Therefore, she pays him with 3,000 laymen and 2 tri-magic stones. Later, after coming in contact with the magic stones, he gets a message saying that the conditions have been met for medicine production and magical device production. Meanwhile, Shiru learns that coming in contact with magic stones was the prerequisite for medicine production. And not only that, but magical device production showed up too. He then suddenly grabs Louise's hand and thanks her, saying that this helps a lot. Seeing that, Leanne comments that this is not fair, and that she will pay in magic stones as well. In response, Shiru tells her that either way is fine, as he was just happy because it was his first time seeing a magic stone. Leanne then becomes sad as she asks if he won't hold her hand, to which Shiru grabs her hand, saying that if it is just holding hands, he will do it all she wants for her. At that, Leanne falls in love with him and tries closing in, but Shiru brings out a bag and tells Alyssa to take it. She then asks what this is, to which Shiru replies that it is a souvenir. Meanwhile, Leanne angrily asks why he only has it for the captain, whereas Shiru continues while pushing Leanne that it is for her family and that it contains mangoes and bananas from this island. He also threw in a beautiful and rare seashell, so he wants her to give it to her son if she would like. Alyssa then gets on her wagon while thanking him and adds that this is a nice souvenir. Afterward, they blend into the distance, whereas Shiru and his golem wave their hands to say goodbye. He then calls all his Iwaos and Goku and tells them that they are going to be busy from now on. Next, he begins creating another Goku and says that once the survey team arrives, they will be short of manpower, so he wants to make a few more Goku-type golems. It might be good to keep pumping out golems in succession, but he also has to think about securing food so he won't be able to use creation magic in the meantime. After that, as he is fishing in the sea, he wonders if he should capture a goat for the sake of food security, and he could make milk with magic, but sometimes there is a situation like this one. The next day, he orders the Iwaos to open a path to the ruins south of here, and he orders Goku for fruit collection. He is sure it will also be handy for the survey team to have a clear path to the dungeon from the cavern, and there is no doubt they will be grateful for it. Honestly, he wants to fawn over, and the captain told him the day before they departed that he should be careful. She added that many of the soldiers coming are young women, so she is sure some of them will make moves on him similarly to Leanne. However, Shiru becomes happy hearing that and thinks about how he won't run and that he will take them on. She also told him that he has too many openings and asked if he noticed Leanne peeping at him in the bath last night, to which he replied yes. She then continued to tell him that it will drive the younglings crazy, so he should keep his golems close at all times and build a wall around the bath. At that, Shiru thinks that he is starting to get a kick out of being watched and that he should make a peeping hole in the wall. There are 100 girls who are coming to this island, but taking into account how picky he is, he estimates that there might be 40 who are his type, and that he wants to be loved by all of them. A few days later, he finishes creating Goku number 2 and puts all of his golems to work. He also planted the roots of the spring onions he made, and they grew back. He then begins creating the women's toilet using the help of his Iwaos, and after a few days, he creates another Goku. With the third Goku done, golem production is now level 3, which unlocked horse-type wood golem. Then, after creating the horse-type golem, he comments that he can even make horses now and that it is much easier to move around. He built a toilet, developed roads, baths for officers, a log cabin with a smokehouse, and he also made a lot of seasoning to expand his culinary repertoire. Preparations to welcome the survey team are steadily underway, and it has already been 10 days since Captain Milano and company left this island. Then, as he wonders when the survey team is supposed to arrive, he suddenly notices a single wyvern in the distance. Judging by how there is only one wyvern this time, he wonders who it is and if it is Captain Milano or Louise. He then says that he would prefer Louise if possible, but he wonders if it is a completely different girl. After the rider opens her mask, it turns out to be Leanne, and she thanks him for coming out to greet him. At that, Shiru becomes speechless, whereas Leanne says that he has been the only thing on her mind. After that, as Leanne is leaving, she gives him the letter from the Empire, and then she brings out a small bag, saying that this is a present from her. Shiru then catches the bag she threw at him, whereas Leanne flies off, telling him to use it as a rag or something if he doesn't like it. After unwrapping her present, he discovers that it is an underwear, and wonders if she wants him to wear this. Later, as he is chilling on the shore, he monologues that it has been over half a month since Leanne stopped by to hand over the letter, and it looks like the survey team will come by ship, but they are yet to arrive. He then pets a dog-shaped golem and tells it that he is leaving the afternoon patrol to it, while addressing it as Wonder. He continues to say during that time, creation magic reached level 9 and he became able to make hound-type metal golems. They were able to capture a female goat thanks to the teamwork between Wonder and Goku, and now they have a stable supply of milk. Thus, he can drink iced cafe au lait whenever he wants, and he can make the ice with creation magic. He further says that they turned into a pretty big family now, and currently the golem lineup consists of 5 Iwaos, 2 Silvers, 2 Wonders, and 6 Goku. Then, as he is resting beneath the shade, he comments that nothing beats spending a hot afternoon lazily laying around, and that iced cafe au lait with condensed milk is the best. He then wonders what the serving team captain's name was, and he thinks it was Lot Graham. According to Leanne, she is a young lady from a noble family in her early 20s who became an officer due to her parents' connections. He believes, but he hopes she is not a harsh person. Suddenly, Wonder starts barking, so he questions if he found some prey again, though he thought he told them not to overhunt. However, he realizes that the barking noise is coming from the beach, so he wonders if it is something else. He then gets on one of his horse-type golems and arrives at the beach at an incredible speed. Next, he looks at the ocean, and in the distance, he could see a ship approaching the island. At that, Shiru excitedly says it is finally here and that there should be a bunch of lovely women in there, maybe even his future girlfriend, so he can see a rosy future just beyond the horizon. Next, he quickly dashes back to his inn riding Silver, and then he takes a bath at the bathhouse. Later, he wears his newly made clothes with magic and wonders if he should go with the underwear he received from Leanne. After that, he steers a carriage drawn by his horse-type golem, and after arriving at the shore, he sees that the soldiers are already docking on the island. At that, he comments that they got here while he was getting ready, but judging by their armor, he believes there is no doubt they are Imperial soldiers. He then gets PTSD from thinking about his previous encounter with the Imperial soldiers and feels a bit nauseous. He thinks about how that event traumatized him in the end, and that he needs Kristia to comfort him. According to Leanne's intelligence, after Kristia arrived in Bawanda Citadel, she took command of the troops there, and it seems like the Empire is struggling greatly. However, now he is supposed to entertain the Imperial soldiers, so he has mixed feelings. Afterward, a high-ranking officer steps foot on the island. Shiru thinks that she is tall and comes off as a very reliable person. Therefore, he questions if she could be Lot Graham. He then welcomes her to Monte Chris Island and introduces himself as Shiru Sanada, a local, to which she thanks him for coming for them. Afterward, Shiru notices a cute-looking chubby girl behind her and speculates that she is about 150 centimeters tall, and that it wouldn't be correct to call her fat. Then, as he is wondering if she is Graham's attendant, the officer tells him that she received the report from Melissa about him. She then points her hand at the chubby girl, saying that she is the survey team's captain, Lot Graham, so he should show her respect. Hearing that, Shiru becomes surprised, whereas the officer introduces herself as Diane Lane, Graham's adjutant, and asks if he could let Graham rest at the inn as she is tired. Shiru thinks that he got it completely wrong, and then he introduces himself to Graham, saying that he is pleased to meet her. In reply, she says yes and looks away, whereas Shiru thinks that rather than arrogance towards a commoner, it feels like she is simply shy. Afterward, as Shiru takes a couple of officers to his inn via carriage, Diane comments that there were mentions of the golems in the report, but she couldn't believe that he even set up an area for the encampment, while adding that it looks like they will have it fairly easily. To that, Graham replies yes, whereas Shiru thinks that he thought she was bad with men or just awkward, but considering her upbringing, she may just be anxious about coming to an isolated island like this. Then, after arriving at his inn, Shiru offers them to use the wet towel to wipe their sweat off as it was hot outside. They become confused seeing the towel, so Shiru thinks that it looks like wet towels aren't a thing in the Empire of Largoa. Then, after applying the wet towel to their face, Diane comments that this is a pleasant sensation, whereas Graham says that it is like her sweat is going away. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks that it reminds him of the chief of the General Affairs Department, Suzuki, wiping his whole body with a wet towel. Later, he makes his Gakus bring some drinks and tells them to help themselves to a beverage called iced cafe au lait. Then, after Graham gulps down the drink, Shiru asks if she would like more, to which she replies in affirmative and adds that it's delicious. At that, Shiru thinks how she finally said something other than yes, so food must be the way to go with her. Afterward, Diane asks how he procures the ice by himself, to which he responds that it was provided by sailors who came to this island, and he has been storing it in the cellar. Shiru says that there actually is a cellar, and the ice is in a special 2-layered barrel. Later, an officer tells him to let her know if he ever needs more of it, since she will make as much as needed with ice magic. At that, Shiru asks if he could request her help with that when she has a moment, to which she replies she got it. Then, as he is preparing food, he says that officer made a good impression, so things are looking good. And there are several among the soldiers he likes too. Also, thanks to all the preparations he made, creation magic leveled up to 10. He is now able to make a bird-type wood golem that is primarily for reconnaissance, and it can look for prey and deliver letters like a carrier pigeon. He then decides to name it Cuckoo and notices that the other part of his creation magic is displaying something different now. Out of these options, armament production is the ability to make weapons and arms that exist in his former world. And not only for small arms but chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons too. On the other hand, repair is the ability to restore anything, whether it's a broken plate or a fancy watch. And he can completely restore even a car reduced to scraps. Both require a fair amount of MP, but he chooses the repair option as he believes that it fits him better. He has chosen to live a peaceful, quiet life, and despite the repairs, he needs to use things carefully. On the other side, the officer that offered Shiru to produce ice comments that she can't believe a man that hot is living on this kind of island. Diane tells her not to lay a finger on Shiru, as he is an important collaborator, and that she should make sure the soldiers know that too. At that, the officer asks if there is no problem if he consents, to which Diane replies that she won't get in the way of love, but if it interferes with her duties, she will be punished. She then asks Graham if that will be acceptable, and in response she says yes. After that, the black-haired officer excitedly says that they got permission from the captain, but another officer argues that she can get a head start. Then, as they are gossiping, Graham thinks about how she has nothing to do with love-related conversation. It's not that she has no interest in men, but the truth is that at the balls, she is sometimes forced to attend. There was no nobleman who would go out of his way to dance with her because she is short, and more than anything, her mind just goes blank when she is in front of a man. Later, the black-haired officer asks the other officer if she would go horseback riding or yachting, to which she replies that he seems delicate, so she will talk about arts like musical instruments and stuff. Meanwhile, Graham thinks that she is not good at any of the classic topics of popular women. At least, if it's about her hobby of building sailing ship models, she can be a bit better at talking. Then, after imagining about a graceful ship sailing across surging waves, she monologues that she thinks the act of recreating that in her own hands is a very refined hobby, but for some reason, it is very unpopular with men. She then lets out a sigh and thinks that she will have an arranged marriage one of these days anyway, but if that falls through, she will be virgin for life. Suddenly, one of the officers grabs her attention, asking what she will do, to which she responds by asking about what. Diane then explains that everyone decided to spend the night in this inn, so she asks if she will be staying as well. At that, she thinks it is better than the ship or a tent, and also, since there is Shiru, even though she is bad at talking, she feels like something good might happen. Then, after pondering about it for a moment, she tells them that she will stay here too. Afterward, Shiru informs his golem that Lot Graham and company will be staying at the lodge, which includes Graham, Diane, and 6 officers. He adds that dinner will be served at 6 p.m., and Team Goku will check each room for beds to be made. Additionally, Team Iwa will prepare the bath before dinner, and he will go pick the herbs and flowers for the bath. Then, as he is out for the task, he glances over to the campsite and thinks that there is a lot of variety among the soldiers. There are cheerful soldiers, what they would call normal people, people who would blatantly give him dirty looks, and besties who would pee in front of him. He doesn't want to see them peeing as he is not into them, but it depends on the person. Still, he guesses that they are following orders, so no one is making a direct move. There is just one group of weirdos, but the vast majority are normal people. Then, after preparing the bath, he informs everyone that the bath is ready. Next, after the officers get out of the inn, Shiru asks them about where Graham is. In response, Diane asks him if he could go check on her, so Shiru gets back to the lodging and knocks on Graham's door. After getting no answer, he goes inside the room and finds out that she is soundly asleep on the bed. Then, as he looks at her face, he thinks that she must be exhausted from the trip and that she is sleeping with a very innocent look on her face. Afterward, Graham opens her eyes and gets startled by Shiru's sudden appearance. At that, Shiru apologizes to her, saying that he knocked but he received no reply, to which Graham replies that she was sleeping. He then informs her that the bath is now ready, so he will show her the way. Suddenly, he notices a figurine decorated on her desk and becomes silent for a bit. He then asks if this is a sailing ship model, whereas Graham panics behind him. Next, he faces towards her and tells her that sailing ships are cool and romantic while thinking that he thinks she made an oh crap face for a moment there. Then, due to her lack of reaction, Shiru wonders if she didn't want him to see it, so he apologizes to her, saying that it's the first time he saw something like that, so he got carried away. Later, Graham asks if he is interested, to which Shiru replies in affirmative and adds that he has never been on a large sailing ship before, as men cannot board a ship. At that, Graham replies that she understands and it is a shame and that he can't board a ship. However, Shiru continues to say that, if he got on a ship, he would probably get seasick, storms are scary, and he can't just handle the swaying, but he likes looking at them. Graham says that she feels the same way, whereas Shiru tells her that models are nice since they can bask in the romance in their room, and it is even tasteful to display them as interior decorations. In response, Graham replies with a yes, but Shiru wonders if he is monologuing too much, as she has been expressionless the whole time. He then apologizes to her, saying that he got carried away, and adds that he will show her to the bath. Afterward, at the bath, the soldiers comment that, just as they heard, the bath is nice, but they look at Shiru's bare calf and feel excited. Diane then gets up from the bathtub and tells Shiru that she can't recommend stimulating the personnel too much. He then understands that a man overly exposing his calves is out of the line, so he tells them he is sorry. Later, an officer says that they are the only ones here, but they would have problems if the rest saw this. At that, Shiru sticks out his tongue and cheerfully apologizes for the shameful display. Witnessing that, everyone feels shy, whereas Graham in a corner of the bathtub starts trembling from too much stimulation. After that, they suddenly hear a splashing sound, so they look back to see that Graham got too excited and passed out. Meanwhile, Shiru wonders if it is his fault, as all he did was roll up his pants and stick out his tongue. He then hurriedly jumps into the water and says that they need to get her out of the water. However, Diane tells him not to excite Graham anymore as his clothes are wet and see-through, to which he apologizes to her. Then, after Shiru rushes back to change his clothes, Graham thinks about how she never saw a man's leg so close up before, which is pure white and sparsely haired. She also thinks about the flirtatious way he stuck out his tongue, and after wondering what would happen if his tongue touched her body, she passes out again. Later that night, as Graham and other officers are having a meeting, the black-haired officer comments that tomorrow is all about preparatory work, to which Graham seriously says that they will study the terrain and set up their defenses. Meanwhile, Shiru says that he served them goat meat grilled on skewers for dinner so they could eat during their meeting. Also, since all pants are on the wash, he turned a sheet into a skirt. On the other side, one of the officers briefs that the size of the shrine is as reported and that preparations shouldn't take long. Shiru thinks that it looks like they will set up a protective fence around the entrance first, and then unseal the shrine. Graham then asks how long the moat will take, to which one of the officers responds by saying that they have 51 earth magic users and 46 for water magic, so it will take 2 days. Meanwhile, Shiru understands that they are going to build a moat with magic and that they will be able to fend off monsters rushing out of the shrine that way. He also thinks that the quiet Graham is sharp and cool when she is working, though just being a short stack is already pretty nice by itself. Then, he asks if they would like to have another cup of coffee while thinking that they had a bit of a situation in the bath, but he hopes they are a bit closer now. However, Graham gets excited, looking at him wearing a skirt, and then she looks away, saying that she will have one. After that, Shiru says that Graham shared food with them for this stay, which consists of 10 kilograms of wheat flour, 5 kilograms of dried corn, 20 eggs, 6 chickens, and 1 kilogram of butter. He then says that he has to give her something in return, and since he thinks she likes sweet things, he wonders if he should make cake. Next, he remembers that she likes sailing ship models, so he decides to make something cool. Later, as he is serving them breakfast, he observes that some start the day properly dressed up, others not so much, and they all may be officers, but their personalities are varied. He further narrates that Diane is definitely among the earnest ones and imagines about her melons spreading out last night. Afterward, Diane asks him what is wrong, to which he replies that he is just happy to see this island so lively after so long. Then, as Graham is munching on her bread, Shiru looks at her, thinking that she is so cute, like a little animal. Shiru tells her that they have sunflower seeds as well, but Graham confusedly says that she doesn't want them. Later, Shiru says he knows that they are building a moat around the shrine today, so he asks if he may look around the worksite. At that, Graham confusedly asks why, to which he responds that it is fun to see how things are built. Hearing that, Graham becomes even more confused, so he wonders if the men of this world do not show interest in things like that. Moving on, as the officers are leaving for work, Shiru loudly tells Graham that he will pay her a visit once he is done cleaning up, to which she shyly responds with an okay. After they were gone, Shiru commented that they should get to work too, and then he assigned cleaning tasks to all his golems. Afterward, as he is preparing the pudding for today's dessert, he receives a notification from his creation magic, which indicates that his present for Graham is done. Then, as he is pouring the pudding solution, he says that pudding is pretty convenient since it is simple to make enough for a large group. Also, if they add vanilla beans, rum, or orange liqueur, it tastes even better. He then wonders if he could make vanilla with magic, as he wants to eat vanilla ice cream. Next, he thinks about being in the bath until the pudding is done, so he orders Iwa to get the bath ready. Afterward, as he is taking a bath, he wonders why the morning bath feels so good and also relaxing with the lavender scent. He then thinks about how he feels like his femininity level has gone up since he came to this world, so he questions if this is also an effect of the transportation. Or rather, he believes that he might be the one who subconsciously perceives this world's image of a desirable man and acts accordingly. He orders one of the Gakus that once the pudding is done, let it cool down and then take it to the cellar to keep it cool since he will be going to visit their worksite. He then thinks while relaxing that if he were in Japan right now, he would be leaving for work and that at first he wondered how things would turn out, but he feels more fulfilled now after coming to this world. He doesn't really know why, but he feels comfortable, so he guesses that he has adapted to this environment. On the other side, as Graham and her team are reading for the site, she thinks about how she didn't know men like Shiru who are homely yet erotic also exist. She further thinks that Shiru is good at cooking, doesn't shy away from cleaning and laundry, and usually men like that have a modest and homely feel to them. But what Shiru has is not that, and unlike the charm of a businessman, he is brisk and suggestive. With all that, since he is interested in sailing ship models, she believes that she could have an easier time talking if it's with him and that she wants to have a man like that as her partner. Even if they can't marry because of their different social status, if he were her lover, she would probably end up spending too much time hanging out at the house she would keep him in. Caravels, galleys, galleons, they would spend their days together building models and chatting. They would enjoy the food he prepared, and then at night they would enjoy hot and steamy moments. After that, Diane suddenly grabs her attention, saying that it looks like she is also looking forward to taking on the dungeon. She continues that it is not often she lets out a smile, so it is good to see that she is brimming with motivation. Hearing that, Graham forces herself to go back into serious mode, but then she suddenly remembers that she left the map of the island at the inn. Afterward, she informs Diane that she forgot something, so she should go and issue instructions on her behalf, to which Diane says she will send someone to get it. But Graham tells her no, while thinking there are documents in her room that she doesn't want other people to see. More importantly, alongside the documents in the bag, there is also her travel companion, an erotic novel. She then tells Diane that it is fine, she will go herself and be right back, so she leaves the directing on site to her. Meanwhile, back in the inn, Shiru splashes a bucket of water over him, saying that cold water after a bath is very refreshing. He adds that he is in a good mood, so he will just go back to the cave without clothes. Then, as he is on his way, he comments that the wind blowing from the forest passing between is a liberating feeling. Furthermore, he starts singing, but on his way, he suddenly encounters Graham as she is heading back. Graham then notices his little elephant hanging around, and they both apologize at the same time. Afterward, Shiru tells her that he thought everyone had left, to which Graham shyly replies that she just forgot something. She then zooms back to her lodging room, whereas Shiru says that her face was bright red, so he hopes she doesn't collapse again. Meanwhile, Graham returns to her room and opens her clothes so that she can play with herself using the image that is still fresh in her mind. Then, after doing the deed, she opens her window, thinking that they should be getting started now. After that, she gets ready while saying she is actually bringing the documents this time, so she has to hurry back. Suddenly, Shiru knocks on the door, asking if she has a moment, to which Graham nervously tells him to come in. He then apologizes to her for the incident earlier, and adds that he is here to express his gratitude for the ingredients she shared with him yesterday. At that, Graham wonders what he means by gratitude and tells him that there is no need. Shiru then opens a box full of figurines and says that he made this for her. After he brings out all the figurines, Graham notices one of the unique figurines and asks if this is her. In response, Shiru says that he thought she could place them on one of her sailing ship models. Graham asks if he made this many overnight, to which he says hers was the one he made last night, and the rest were made in advance. She also asks what material and colors he used, so he replies that he made it with clay and pigments. He then mentions that he actually made a figurine of himself as well, but he guesses having a man on board would be a bad idea. Later, after staring at him for a moment, Graham says that she wouldn't mind. Afterward, Shiru suddenly remembers what she came here for, so he apologizes for taking up her time and asks if she is in a hurry. Moving on, Shiru rides in one of his silvers along with Graham, whereas Graham thinks she can't ride in the back since her subordinates will notice her, but personally, she would like to ride holding onto a man. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks that Operation Riding Double is a success, and that he deliberately summons Silver Number 1. He also thinks that Graham's body feels very nice and squishy, but he thinks about not clinging too much, whereas Graham thinks that having a man hold on to her is not too bad either. Moving on, as they are on their way to the dungeon site, Shiru asks Graham if she is sure to put that figure of himself on the ship model, as it is taboo to have a man on board a ship. In reply, Graham tells him that is her ship in her world, so it is alright. A few moments later, they could see the view of the dungeon, and upon arrival on the site, all the soldiers stared at them. At that, Graham orders them to keep working, whereas Shiru understands that Graham and him pairing up wasn't planned. She then explains to Diane that she asked him to bring her here with the golem, to which Shiru thinks that she sounds like she is trying to make an excuse. Afterward, he looks at the soldiers working and exclaims that this is how they use earth magic to build the moat. He then asks if he could take a closer look, to which Graham tells him to feel free but be careful. Later, he approaches one of the soldiers using earth magic and watches her as she works. He then says that it is pretty cool, and hearing that, the soldier tells him she is just getting started. Next, she increases the power of her magic output to impress Shiru, but another soldier tells her not to be so smug about it. The soldier then increases her magic output as well, to which Shiru compliments her, saying she is amazing too. Afterward, all the soldiers increase their magic output to impress Shiru, whereas Diane comments that they are making good progress thanks to Shiru. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks that wanting to show off to the opposite gender is the same both in his former world and in this one. He also thinks that he feels like the soldiers deserve a reward, but as there are 100 people, he could make a little snack. Then, he hops on his silver and informs them that he will be right back, at which Graham becomes confused. Afterward, Shiru reaches his inn and orders one of his Iwaos to put a large pot over the fire. Next, he adds water, sugar, syrup, and salt and brings to a boil. Once the liquid changes color and the bubbles start becoming bigger, he removes it from the fire and cools it down with cold water. Then, once it is cold enough to safely touch with his hands, he stretches it out, gives it a cylindrical shape, and after cutting it into pieces, it is done. Later, he arrives at the dungeon site holding a basket and tells them that he brought them all salted candy as he heard that a sodium supplement is good when they sweat. Then, Graham starts eating a candy and comments that it smells like lemon, to which Shiru explains that he scented it with citrus grass. At that, Graham thanks him for the consideration, whereas Shiru states that he will go hand them out to the soldiers as well. He hands them out to the officers waiting in the tent, and next he approaches the soldiers who are working. Then, he tells the soldier that it is salted candy and that eating these on a hot day will keep her full of energy, to which the soldier responds that she will take one. However, Shiru notices that her hand is covered in mud, so he tells her to open her mouth. Afterward, he shoves it into her mouth and asks if it is good, to which she shyly replies yes. Witnessing that, all the soldiers become speechless, whereas Shiru announces that there is enough for everyone. Next, he goes over to the remaining soldiers and feeds them candy one by one using his hands. After feeding all the soldiers, Shiru notices that there are still a lot of candies left, so he wonders if he should do another round. However, Diane tells him that they appreciate it, but that's enough since they're all too focused on him and neglecting their work. At that, Shiru asks if candy is a rare thing in the Empire, to which Diana replies that candy isn't rare, but what is rare is the act of having a man feed it to them, and it is on the level of something they would find in a fantasy novel. Hearing that, Shiru says he is sorry and adds that he grew up on an island, so he has no common sense. In response, Diane tells him that she knows he only has good intentions, whereas Shiru becomes worried thinking that he ended up slowing down their work. But he suddenly comes up with an idea and says that he will hand out more once they finish the work. He then loudly tells everyone to keep at their work and that they will get more candy after they finish the moat. Hearing that, the soldiers become fired up and start working at a rapid pace. Shiru then asks Graham if this should make up for the time lost, to which she replies yes. Later, he picks up a candy, asking if she would like to have another one, and in return, she hesitantly reaches out her hand. Shiru then hands her the candy, and as she is eating it, he thinks that he likes this shyness. Moving on, the soldiers who are using earth magic finish their task, and then the water magic users begin to fill up the moat. Seeing that, Shiru comments that it is amazing and that the moat is already done. Afterward, his Iwaos help them build the towers, and after they are done, Shiru says that it is time for him to prepare dinner, so he will return to the inn, to which Graham thanks him for his hard work. She then asks what is for dinner, to which Shiru mentions that the main dish is sea bream tempura. She doesn't know what tempura is, so Shiru explains that it is food coated in batter and deep fried, and it is especially delicious freshly fried, so she should look forward to it. Then, after he leaves for the inn, the black-haired officer states that she really wants to take him home with her. At that, the other soldiers say that they get her since he is naughty and a good cook. However, the concern is that they are worried about being cheated on if they had a husband like that, whereas Graham starts sweating hearing it. Diane tells them that she heard this from Milano, that it looks like a subordinate of hers made a move on him and was rejected. At that, one of the officers asks if she is talking about Leanne and that she is a bad girl who knows how to handle men. Diane continues that apparently she was going on about how that was just the first round, while Graham thinks that Shiru may seem like that, but she guesses he is not unselective. She then wonders if there is no way to take him home with her, and if she were a dragon rider like Alyssa Milano, she would take him on a ride in her wyvern. Afterward, she smiles while thinking that she has some silly fantasies. On the other side, Shiru thinks that he is totally getting along with the people of the Empire now. But no one can imagine that the warrior princess of Regalta and him are involved with each other. He then gets reminded of Kristia and wonders how she is doing. Moving on, the officers gather at his kitchen by the fragrance of his cooking, so Shiru informs them that this is sea bream tempura. He then serves them tempura on their plate, telling them that it is hot so they should be careful. After that, they all try the tempura and exclaim that it is yummy while making delighted faces. Then, one of the officers says it is crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, whereas another officer says that sea bream tempura might be the most delicious thing in the world. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks about how women are stuffing themselves while sweating, but it is pretty nice to watch people eat his cooking like it is delicious. He also thinks about making tempura again if he manages to catch shrimp or squid, and he had them eat it with salt this time, so he might make dried bonito flakes and prepare tensuyu too. After finishing their meal, Shiru wonders what is going since they told him to attend the meeting as well. Diane tells him that they have a request for him, and that is when they storm the dungeon tomorrow. She wonders if he could lend them his stone golems. At that, Shiru asks, when they say stone, do they mean his Iwao? In response, Diane says he is correct and that she knows the large iron shield propped up inside his Iwaos. He then asks if they want Iwao in the vanguard, to which she replies that they want to avoid casualties as much as possible, although for him, there is the risk of losing golems. Next, she asks what he will say and if they can count on him, at which Shiru thinks that Iwao can be created again. But the same thing can't be said for human life. He then tells them that he will take magic stones for the golem and a separate reward as well, to which Graham replies that she can promise him that much. Afterward, they give him 10,000 laymen in cash, magic stones worth 5,000 laymen, and 3 kilograms frozen beef. Shiru then tells them there is no way he can accept this. Graham says they are the ones asking for too much, so she would like him to take it without reservation. At that, Shiru tells her to don't mind if he does and smiles suspiciously. The truth is, he happens to be happier about the beef than about the cash and magic stones, and since he got all the ingredients, he could make a beef bowl. He also thinks about how it has been so long and that it definitely has to be an extra large portion. He then loudly tells her that the 3 kilograms of beef and the cash and magic stones have certainly been received, at which she becomes confused. The next day, they arrive before the dungeon with 6 stone golems equipped with great shields, 8 elite offensive magic soldiers, 4 towers with 3 soldiers each, and many common soldiers on the edge of the moat. Later, the vanguard approaches the dungeon entrance, and Diane commands that from here on out they will commence the dungeon raid operation. After that, 2 soldiers open the gate to the dungeon, and for a moment, silence fills the entire area. Then suddenly, 2 wolf-type monsters rush out of the dungeon and proceed to attack Shiru's Iwao. Next, the monsters tackle the Iwao and make them lose balance, whereas Shiru becomes surprised as Iwaos can lift 500 kilos yet they are overpowered. Then, as the monsters slow down from attacking the Iwaos, the elite magic officers begin their attack. After launching a barrage of magic spells, the monsters get defeated and fall to the ground. Witnessing that, Shiru becomes shaky, whereas Diane requests him to get the golems in position and make them advance. In response, Shiru apologizes to her, saying his legs are shaking, but Graham suddenly grabs his hand. She then asks in a trembling tone if he is okay, at which Shiru wonders why her voice is trembling too. Afterward, he tells them that he needs to hold on to something to stand properly, so Diane and Graham lend him their arms. Then, after feeling the softness of their melons in his arms, he finds courage again and orders his Iwals to get back into formation. Later, the scouting party informs them that there are no signs of danger in the entrance and that they will secure the interior. Diane then tells Shiru to move the golems inside, and they will follow them behind. At that, Shiru asks if he is going in too, to which Diane replies that he is the only one who can order the golems around, but Graham tells him not to worry as they are with him. Then, they go inside the dungeon and walk down the stairs to reach the next area. In that area, they encounter some lizard-type monsters, but with the help of Iwao and the vanguards, they easily defeat the monsters. Afterward, Shiru comments that some terrific monsters are jumping at them out of nowhere, to which Graham informs him that it has been just relatively weak monsters so far. He then asks if she is serious, and in response she mentions that the monsters will get stronger as they go deeper, whereas Diane tells him to have the golems go down the stairs first. Afterward, Graham tells him to relax as they will protect him and adds that Diane and her have magic power that stands out even among the troops, so he will be fine if he stays between them. Meanwhile, Shiru talks about how this place has low oxygen concentration to begin with, or rather, it's filled with a strange smell. Then, he suddenly begins to fall, saying that he is at his limit, whereas Graham quickly calls someone named Cheryl to check on Shiru. After that, Graham quickly calls someone named Cheryl and tells her that she needs her to heal him. Then, as Cheryl is approaching him to heal him, Shiru thinks that it's just his mental image, but he thought healers were supposed to be the soothing type. He believes that they should have big and beautiful eyes, huge melons, and a gentle demeanor. Later, Cheryl tells him to get it together and asks what they would do if he goes down before the golems, whereas Shiru thinks that she has a bit of a harsh personality. That said, he believes she is also a kind person. With a reputation for her thorough healing magic she uses wholeheartedly on anyone. She then tells him that she will make him feel better now and states that his palpitation seems a bit fast. Next, she uses Healing Hand, which is a recovery magic that enhances the person's self-healing ability to the maximum. Then, she slips her hand inside Shiru's clothes to touch his chest and tells him not to worry, as he will feel better right away. Meanwhile, Graham, in a suspective expression, asks Cheryl if it is necessary to touch the patient. In response, Cheryl explains that research has shown that delivering magic while in direct contact with the skin is more efficient. At that, Graham says she understands, whereas Shiru wonders if that is how it is. Suddenly, he feels something is off as he notices that she is touching his body with her finger. Afterward, he tells her that he is feeling a lot better now, but Cheryl yells at him, saying that he is not fully healed yet and that they are at a crucial point right now. Meanwhile, Graham informs that Cheryl is always so thorough with her healing, whereas Shiru thinks about how that is not what is going on and that she is just enjoying herself. 3 minutes later, after she is done with her questionable healing technique, Shiru tells her that he is better now thanks to her help, to which Cheryl flirtatiously replies she is glad to hear that. Moving on, as they come out of the dungeon, Shiru becomes surprised to see that it is evening already. Diane tells him that they managed to gain control of the first underground floor without significant losses, and they owe it to his cooperation. In reply, Shiru says he didn't do anything and that Team Iwao did all the heavy lifting. However, he is worried about what he should do, as it is too late for him to make dinner now. At that, Graham tells him not to worry since dinner is being prepared by their cook, and that he should eat with them too. Shiru replies that he will join them in that case, while thinking about how not having to prepare dinner is nice, but cooking suits him better than dungeon crawling. After returning to the inn, Shiru sees that they had bread, cheese, boiled potatoes and beans with plenty of butter on top, and grilled pork on the food menu. Then, as he is eating, he thinks that the food is hearty but the taste is not quite right. Next, he begins drinking sweet red wine and wonders if the sugar in it is to prevent spoilage. He also thinks about how both the pork and potatoes are salty, so the wine goes well with them. A few moments later, the officers become startled as Shiru suddenly starts laughing like a drunkard and yells that he is surrounded by all these beautiful women and he is the only guy here. He continues to say that he also explored a dungeon for the first time and found 3 treasures. At that, the black-haired officer pours him another drink, saying she sees he is ecstatic too and that they are happy as well. Seeing that, Graham becomes concerned, but Shiru tells her in a drunken tone that there is no problem as this much wine is nothing. Later, Diane says that she would like to ask for his assistance again tomorrow, so would he mind? In response, Shiru grabs her hand and tells her if it is for her sake, he would rush into water, into fire, and even into a dungeon. Then he straightens his posture and comments in a serious tone that Shiru Sanada will charge in. At that, the other officers ask if the adjutant is his favorite, to which Shiru asks what they are talking about and that he is not like that. He continues that he is not that kind of guy, and Diane isn't the only one he likes, as he likes Graham a lot too. He also says that he really likes Diane and how they spread out, and he really likes Graham because she is cute. Also, he doesn't even dislike Cheryl, who used her healing magic as an excuse to touch his body. Hearing that, the other officer angrily approaches Cheryl, but Shiru suddenly hugs her, saying he forgives her. At that, Cheryl asks if he is an angel, whereas Shiru gets reminded of how Kristja told him he must be her guardian angel. Then he suddenly bursts into tears, remembering that, whereas Graham asks what is wrong. Shiru grabs another glass of wine and starts chugging it down, at which Graham becomes concerned. Shiru tells her not to stop him and adds that he had a special someone. Graham asks whom he means by a special someone, so Shiru explains that he was at a loss when he came to this world, and she was the one who guided him and gave him her love. She then asks where that person is now, to which he replies that he will never see Chris again now. Later, he asks Graham if it's okay if he cries, and in response, she says it is okay to cry as much as he wants. Afterward, he cries with his face buried in Graham's body, and after he falls asleep, Diane comments that she imagined he was a man with a past, but it looks like he has lost his wife or lover. At that, Graham says it was someone named Chris, whereas the other soldiers comment that it is not a particularly uncommon name, and they wonder what kind of woman she was. Later, Graham says they can't leave him like that, so she will carry him to bed, but Diane tells her that she mustn't do anything to him when he is drunk. Hearing that, Graham blushingly calls her an idiot and adds that she would never do such a despicable thing. Diane replies that she doesn't think she would, but carrying him alone may start false rumors. She then thinks about how she knows very well she is not that kind of person, whereas Graham tells her she is right. Afterward, she suggests that she will carry him with everyone except Cheryl while coldly staring at her, to which Cheryl replies in a weak tone that she understands. Later, as Graham is carrying Shiru with the officers behind her, one of the officers comments that when she said with everyone, she thought they were going to carry him together. Moving on, they arrive at Shiru's room and comment that this is his room. Then, some of the officers smell the air, saying that it is filled with his scent, and this might be too much. On the other side, other officers become surprised to see how big his bed is and add that it's like it was made to sleep with someone. Meanwhile, Graham carries Shiru to bed, telling them not to be silly and move over. Then, after putting him in his bed, Shiru partially wakes up and asks if this is his bed. In response, Graham says that he is right and that this is his bed. But Shiru had blurry vision, so he didn't know who was talking to him. He then suddenly hugs her, saying that he is sleepy right now, so he will work hard tomorrow. Suddenly, he gives her a kiss, to which she becomes startled. He then continues kissing her, whereas the other officers become excited watching them in action. After he finishes kissing her, he lies in bed and wishes Kristja good night. Hearing that, Graham becomes speechless, whereas Shiru falls asleep. Diane tells everyone that it is about time they leave since they can't stay in a man's room for too long. After they were gone, Graham orders Diane to notify the unit that giving him alcohol is forbidden, and those who disobey will receive harsh punishment. In reply, Diane says she understood and that she thinks it is for the best. Then, as they are leaving his room, Graham approaches his stone golems and orders them to make sure to protect Shiru. The next day, Shiru wakes up, grabbing his head and saying that his head hurts. He orders one of his Gakus to bring him a glass of water, and then he creates a painkiller from the medicine production option. It is said to be effective against hangover headaches, but he never thought he would be the first to try it. Then, he shoves the medicine in his mouth, and after chugging a glass of water brought by Goku, he feels completely refreshed. He comments that the pain went away in just a few seconds, and it is so effective that it's a little scary. Moving on, as he is washing his face by the river, he thinks about how his headache is gone, but he still feels nauseated, and he can't make stomach medicine yet because his level is too low. Also, he feels like taking a shower, so he thinks about building a shower next time, but it's not because he wants to watch a shower scene. Suddenly, Graham appears behind him, so he looks back and wishes her good morning in an energetic tone. She shyly wishes him back while turning her face away, and then she quickly washes her face in the river. She walks away quickly through the bush, whereas Shiru wonders if she is avoiding him. Later, Diane appears in front of him, wishing him good morning, and asks if there's something wrong, to which he replies nothing. She adds that she hopes he can assist them again today by commanding the Iwaos, and the words he said yesterday made her very happy. Hearing that, Shiru becomes confused, so she explains that he told him, if it's for her sake, he would rush into water or fire, or even into a dungeon. She continues to say that if she were 10 years younger and a man like him said that phrase to her, she would have seriously considered marrying him. She also mentions something about last night, so Shiru asks if he said more things last night. She says that it seems he had a lot of painful experience and asks when he mentioned Chris if he meant his late wife. At that, Shiru becomes depressed as he wonders if he ended up talking about Chris when he got drunk and if he will be alright since she is the princess of Realsha, someone completely hostile to the empire. Moreover, he confusingly wonders since when he is married to Chris and what they mean by late wife. Afterward, she tells him that if he ever has any troubles, he should let her know and she will do her best to help him. He then asks if he did something else when he was drunk last night while wondering if she is being considerate of him, and it doesn't seem like she found out that Chris is actually the princess of Regalsha. In reply, Diane tells him that he kissed Graham, but after hearing that, he slams the ground out of shame. He then thinks about what he has done and that he has to apologize to her properly. However, he believes that, if they are being considerate of him, he guesses he probably won't get any weird advances for the time being. Then, a few moments later, he receives proposals from 3 officers, so he thinks about how they tried to woo him 3 times today, and it seems this kind of situation is irresistible. He couldn't even think of a decent excuse to deny it, so he decides to keep it that way. Later, as Shiru and Graham are marching toward the dungeon with his golems, Shiru grabs Graham's attention, to which she hesitantly questions what. Shiru thinks he should talk about work for now, so he tells her that he has a little request and asks if it would be possible to add Wonder number 1 to the battle this time. He then monologues that he is curious about Wonder's fighting power, therefore, he thinks it is best to test it in a real battle. After that, Graham approves his requests, saying if it's against a single monster, she won't mind, but the moment organized combat is required, he will have to make it withdraw from the battle, otherwise, they won't be able to coordinate their attack and defense with the golems. Shiru then thanks her while telling Wonder number 1 to do its best today and orders number 2 to be his guard. Moving on, as they are entering the dungeon, Diane mentions that yesterday they occupied the first floor of the first underground level. Today they are going to investigate beyond the door decorated with reliefs. Then, as they are wandering through the dungeon and defeating monsters, Shiru guesses that this must be the so-called mapping and adds that this underground dungeon resembles an underground shopping center in the city. He also thinks how so far all the monster encounters have been in the middle of the hallway or inside a room, and since there is always more than one enemy, Wonder hasn't been able to act yet. Later, Diane asks if he is feeling alright, to which he replies that he is fine and he thinks he is getting used to it. But when it comes to combat, his legs still freeze from fear, so Diane tells him it can't be helped since men can't use magic. At that, he thinks about how he can use creation magic and that Wonder number 3 is now under construction. Later, Diane receives a report from the scouting party, so she tells Shiru that she needs the messenger. Shiru then takes out Cuckoo, a bird-shaped wood golem, and orders it to deliver that document to the reserve unit at the entrance. Afterward, he states that the investigation sure took a long time, to which Diane explains that it's because it is a careful investigation that prioritizes safety, and Graham's main concern is to avoid suffering casualties as much as possible. She continues to say that Graham may look unfriendly at first glance, but she is a kind person who cares a lot about her subordinates. Later, someone notifies that troop deployment is complete and they are ready to move, so Graham shyly hints at Shiru to do his work. At that, Shiru thinks that even with his distance and formality, he can feel that there is some caring or kindness towards him, so he has to concentrate on his work now. He then orders his Iwa to get ready for the incoming attack, and when the door opens, they will have to move forward while holding the shield in front of them. After entering the room, Shiru becomes confused as he couldn't notice anything, but someone notifies him that there is something in the back. Witnessing the monster, Shiru wonders if it's an extremely colorful ostrich, but Graham mentions that it is a cockatrice and adds that there is only one enemy, so now is the time to let Wonder fight. Afterward, Shiru orders his Wonder to charge, so it faces off against the cockatrice. Then, after a brief stare down, they begin their battle, whereas Shiru wishes Wonder to do its best. As the battle between them rages on, the soldiers comment that both are very agile, but the duel lacks a deciding factor. Later, they notice that the cockatrice is slowing down, so they cheer on for Wonder's victory. After that, Wonder aggressively bites the cicatrice's long neck, and after a brief struggle, the cicatrice stays down. Shiru then asks Graham if Wonder's battle was satisfactory, to which she replies that it was pretty good, and it could be said that he is capable of doing the work of 3 average soldiers. He asks how much stronger the officers are than average soldiers, so she mentions that although there are individual differences between them, they can deal with 3 to 5 average soldiers. Hearing that, he thinks about how, at the moment, there are only 2 Wonders active, so if 2 officers were to attack him, he wouldn't stand a chance against them. Right now, Graham and the others are firmly in control of the soldiers, but he is not sure what will happen in the future, so he needs to raise the golem creation level as soon as possible. He then displays his current status while thinking that in order to raise the golem production level, he has to make 3 more of them. Moreover, in addition to Wonder number 3, which is currently being created, it takes 5 days minimum to make 2 units. If he keeps making golems, he won't be able to make anything else during that time, so he wants to be able to multitask as soon as possible. But as for repair, he tried it out on a piece he intentionally broke and found out that it became new without any visible scratches or flaws. However, it consumes 76 MP, whereas creating a plate with tool production only costs 24 MP. But since even the wear marks have disappeared, he believes it could be related to time magic. Also, it can be activated while using creation magic, and even if it's not an item made with creation magic, he can still fix it with repair. Moving on, as they are advancing through the dungeon, Shiru looks at Wonder's body and thinks that even though it is a metal golem, it has many scratches all over its body from the previous battle, and if only a little, it drags its right hind leg. He then gets fired up, thinking that once they get back, he will use repair to fix it. Moving on, after finishing their dungeon exploration, Shiru tries to repair Wonder, but he becomes surprised to find out that the MP consumption to use repair is 720 points. He then comments that he expected the MP consumption to increase, but not to this extent, and then he looks back to see that his Iwals are worn out as well. Afterward, Graham suddenly knocks on his door and informs him that she arranged the cicatrice meat for it to be taken to the kitchen. He thanks her and adds that for the time being, he will keep number 1 on standby. He then thinks that after this, he has to make 2 more golems, especially considering that Wonder and the Iwals are in such bad condition. Later, he arrives in the kitchen and becomes surprised to see the size of the cicatrice meat laid on the table. He then orders the Gakus to chop the meat and monologues that a cicatrice, even though it's a monster, is edible, and furthermore, the brightly colored feathers are said to fetch a high price as decoration. Also, in the capital, it is said that it's fashionable for women to use cicatrice feathers to decorate their hats. After that, he orders the Gakus to take the meat to be stored except for the amount that they are going to use now. He cuts the meat into large bite-sized pieces and soaks in soy sauce and sake grated with ginger for about 30 minutes. Then he adds potato starch, and after mixing it well, he deep fries it with oil. Later, he finishes cooking deep-fried cicatrice with vegetables and cicatrice soup and informs everyone that dinner is served. Afterward, the officers try out his deep-fried cicatrice and comment with a delighted face that it is delicious. They also try out the soup, saying that it is also delicious and that it has a deep and pleasant flavor. Meanwhile, Shiru thinks that they can obtain a much tastier broth from the cicatrice than from a regular chicken, and combined with the delicious flavor of the vegetables, the best soup is achieved. He also thinks that he should try making ramen with cicatrice soup with a light soy sauce-based seasoning, since the flavor of the soup is quite strong. He could also use roasted pork fillet, but he thinks that charcoal grilled cicatrice meat with green onions would be a better combination. Later, the black-haired officer approaches him, asking why he is grinning so much and if he is thinking about something naughty. In response, he says that he was just thinking about a new dish, and even if he does complete it, he won't let her eat it. Then, after finishing their dinner, Diane suddenly grabs Shiru's attention to discuss regarding tomorrow's investigation. At that, Shiru angrily asks what about it, and if it is about his role assisting them with the exploration. He wants them to give him a break already. He adds that he just checked it out, and it seems that his Iwal's condition isn't good. In response, Diane states it is troublesome, whereas Graham tells her that they can't be unreasonable, and it is thanks to him that things have gone well so far. And in fact, she thinks it is not logical that they ask a normal man like him to accompany them into the dungeon. Hearing that, all the officers nod their heads and say that it's true, whereas Shiru apologizes to them, saying it is impossible for him to fight after all. Graham then tells him not to be sorry, as she is very grateful for the assistance he provided thus far. Later, Diane also tells him that she is sorry for pushing him to do something unreasonable, to which Shiru hesitantly says that it's okay. Afterward, Graham tells him that she wants to repay the favor, so she asks if there is anything they can do for him. Moving on, Diane begins to install something, whereas Graham informs her that she brought the awl. The other officers work on the frame of the structure, and later they make several holes in a flat barrel placed above the structure. Then, after testing it out with water, Shiru comments that starting tomorrow, he will be able to shower, to which Graham says she is glad that he is pleased. She adds that they have already taken a bath, so he should use it first.